What up, to One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, a podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Antony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey. It is a Wednesday evening, which can only mean one thing. It is the college football podcast, and in my best impression of Scary Movie 6, we back. 6 weeks done from the last draft. Ryan, it doesn't seem 2 minutes since the draft happened, but it's in the back view mirror now, and that can only mean one thing. A new college football season is on the horizon. New players, new teams, new shenanigans going on. The world is going crazy while we've been gone. It's what we love about the game, right?
Yeah, all the draft nonsense out of the way. College football, story makers, shenanigans, as you say. Lots of controversy, like say things. People are very upset. Like say people are bending the rules. Like say it's all that fun time of the season. Like say, and yeah, it feels like very much back. It's time to lock in, focus in. Like say the cycle's gone. The players they've all entered draft. We've forgotten about them.
Exactly.
It's all about the people that are going to replace them now.
Exactly. It is a new slate for everybody. You had a 1-10 season last year. You can go 10-1 this year. You're on the hot seat. You might be the hottest commodity in the year coming. It's the year where everybody gets a fresh start. And as you always know, when we start back up in the summer, what we like to do is we like to have a little look through the conferences and shine a light on some of the teams down there. Especially we like our group of 5 teams, and we always go through those. We're going to do that this year. We didn't get to do as many last year, but we are ready and raring to go. Hopefully going to take a look at the FCS as well and other bits this year. There is a lot to go through. As always, if there's anything you want us to do over the summer, you want to know about players, you want to know about teams, position groups, anything like that, you can let us know and we shall get it sorted for you. We have a lot of spare time on the books. Before we crack on with today's main topic, though, however, we'll be remiss not to talk about some of the news. That's what's been happening while we've been away. And Ryan was talking about skullduggery and teams been naughty during the opening segment there, and there has been no more naughty team than one particular money-splashing side in the Big 12 and its new quarterback, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, and their quarterback Brendan Sorsby, the high-profile acquisition from Cincinnati at the last minute as well. Texas Tech needed a new QB. They went and got one. The whole saga started a few months back when he was caught gambling, let's say. Serially gambling. This was talking about, I think, 6 figures worth of gambling he was doing, money on his own team, everything like that. And obviously the authorities didn't very much like that. This was his last year of eligibility in college football, and the NCAA turned around and go, yeah, you're not playing, son. Those are breaking our rules. You're not allowed to play with us. Which then caused the whole issue of what was Brendan Sorsby going to do? The draft had come and gone by this point, and he's only got 1 year of eligibility left, and he can't use it. So does he sit for the year? Does he head for the very rare supplemental draft, which would have been a very intriguing proposition given where he might potentially go when all is said and done? But no, what him and Texas Tech decided to do was what Ole Miss decided to go and do with Trinidad Chambliss. They went and found a very friendly judge. A very impartial judge, didn't use any money on him, nothing like that, all by the by and what they were, and they got a judge to overturn the NCAA's decision. I don't know how, but they did, and basically allowing Brendan Sorsby to come back and play college football this year. And the response unanimously from the world, there are very few things that unite college football in totality. This has, the fallout from this so far it's escalating quickly. So far, I believe Georgia and Nebraska have both told their athletic departments that they are unable to schedule in any sport games against Texas Tech. They have forbidden it. No more fixtures in the near future against either. The Big Ten athletic department, I believe, are meeting as a whole to discuss the idea that the Big Ten will also, as a group, do something similar. So no Big Ten teams will be allowed to play Texas Tech. And even the Big 12, Texas Tech's conference, are supposedly getting together to discuss same, which would mean Texas Tech would not be able to schedule any conference games, and potentially, Ryan, a fallout here which may not just cost Texas Tech its respect, it might cost it its conference. This is an absolutely unbelievable situation from start to finish. Drama, scandal, you name it. This has had it. What do you think about the whole furore around Brendan Sorsby?
It's weird because everything I've seen has led me to think he's in a really bad place and needs a lot of help. So why on earth would he want to play football? Like I say, I don't see that as part of his rehabilitation. Like I say, I don't understand why he'd want to return. He should take some time away, focus on himself. Like I say, and he seemed to almost be fine with the decision to suspend him. He put out a statement, like I say, he apologised, said he's had a serious addiction. He's been gambling on all sorts for years and it's taken over his life. So stepping away from sports and the limelight would be good for him. And like I say, suddenly it's, oh no, like I say, I've changed my mind. I don't like the decision. We're going to lawyer up. It's now gone from a whole game suspension to a 2 game suspension. So it's like I say, it's how have they worked that out? Like I say, it's not even giving him all the eligibility back. He got to sit back for 2 games. And then, like I say, a weird statement from Texas Tech Athletics in about the last couple of hours kind of distancing themselves from the decision, saying like, oh, we didn't really get involved with it. It's kind of like his decision. And his head coach is saying that, oh yeah, I've spoken to him. He's in a bad place. He wouldn't be ready for week 3 anyway. So all these people now with these interesting chirps, like I say, and it's chaos, yeah. Big 12 teams on about boycotting, like say, just like say, handing out walkovers, like say, the current teams on this year's schedule are just not going to turn up and play them. They will just take walkovers, whatever it happens. And the landscape is big. Like you don't often see big, like say, people like analysts, like have a say, like Daniel Jeremiah moved to 6 team and came out and said, this is a disaster. Everything is holy in the sport now. He basically said nothing is punished anymore. And I'm with him. Like I say, you can kind of do anything you want to get with it. Like I say, and it's the principle of like saying, oh yeah, he bet on his team to win. Like I say, what's all wrong with that? No, it's the principle. You can't bet on stuff that you can influence. Even stuff you can't influence, like you say, you should not be betting on a sport where you know people, where people know you, where there is the chance for any manipulation of the market whatsoever. Like I say, and it's unprecedented. Yeah, and I'd love to know what's going on in his head right now. Does he feel like he's had to do this? Does he really want to play? If he comes back and plays terrible, or like say he decides to drop out mid-season, which won't surprise me, and step away from football, and then like say that just kind of derails Texas Tech's season. Like say it's so weird. Like say he would have done super well in supplemental draft. There were talks, like say, late first, early second round contention, and we hadn't seen a player go that high since like the cornerback Sam Beal went 3rd round, like say like 8-9 years ago to the Giants, and there's only been like 10 players in the supplemental draft drafted in like the last 20 years, and nearly none of them have made it. It's a weird route to go down, but yeah, this definitely won't be the last we hear of it. But as it stands, like I say, unless an injunction is filed or anyone backs out, he could be back as early as week 3. But with Will Hammond coming off a torn ACL and going to be shaky in weeks 1 and 2, the Red Raiders season, yeah, is very much in doubt.
I mean, I guess best to affect you during the non-con season when it doesn't really have an effect. But this is a team that have been trying to get Texas into a game early this year. I don't know what's going on there because they've
to buy out Abilene Christian, won't they?
They've had to buy out. They've had to buy out Texas State for Texas, and they've had to buy out Abilene Christian for themselves. They're trying to do that, trying to organise that with Texas. But I don't know whether that's going to happen now or what's going on there. So, yeah, this is just a whole scenario. And then it comes back to the whole, money, NIL stuff, gambling. Like you say, Brendan Sorsby's been using his NIL money to gamble and then has not been punished for it. And now it's the money in college athletics. What is that having an effect on? You've seen guys who are taking a stand on this now. Dion, I don't always agree with Dion Sanders and what he does at his teams, but he's come out and said, I don't know how he's going to enforce it, but his freshmen can't take NIL deals. They've got to wait till they're sophomores on that team until they can start getting deals. If you could enforce that I think that would be good for the sport if you could. I don't know how he will, because America's weird with its jurisdictions, its state lines, all that sort of stuff. They can't unanimously come up with things for bits like this, but yeah, it's just true. And like you say, there's a player at the heart of this. A player who's obviously not mentally right and is now probably going to get thrown to the wolves as all this falls out. I do feel sorry for him. Probably should have taken some time off. I mean, he's still got the year of eligibility. There's nothing to stop him coming back next year. I know he'd be older and it devalues your stock and that, but as a player, you've got to look after yourself.
He could
first and
technically stay
foremost.
this year out, couldn't it? Like
Yeah.
say they're in the waiver,
Yeah.
whether or not they let him extend it to 2027, 2028. But yeah, I just don't know if playing football this year is the best thing for him.
No, I think the supplemental draft, for as fun as it would have been, because
He's
obviously...
still got a month. I think he's still got to the 30th of June.
Yeah.
I think he can still apply for supplemental draft if he wants to. But
Because obviously supplemental draft rules are you don't know what other teams have bid, hence why you'd have to probably go
it's
big
a
for
blind Dutch bid,
Yeah,
and the
it
highest
is.
bid wins.
and you can't you have no idea. So like you say, that would probably put a first round moniker on it because you think someone's going to slip a second in there, which means if you want him, you've got to slip in more than a second to be guaranteed, which is, but you know, if it's bad enough him not playing college football, coming up to an NFL team and trying to play NFL football next year would be even worse, like putting pressure on you, especially if it's to a bad team. So yeah, it's just a big mess all around. Once again, NIL continues to get in the way of things, and it's going to be interesting because if the Big 12 boot them out, where are they going to go? I mean, you would figure, I don't know, would it be the Pac's opportunity to spring? Texas Tech are probably richer than the Pac, but I don't know. The SEC are taking a nonchalant approach to this. They're all trying to ban them as well. I don't know where Texas Tech would end up after this if the Big 12 booted them.
Be probably like to say independence, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they could make some money as an independent, I guess, but I mean, like a Notre Dame-esque thing. But yeah, it's a
I'd
rough...
say the NIL. I mean, at what point do we get to where the NIL says we don't give you the money, we just approve your purchases? But you can't do that for every player. Every player can't have an accountant, can they? Like,
Oh yeah, you mean like
don't give them the money up front. Like, say they have an allowance, and they have to tell you what it's for. They can't just spend it.
Yeah.
So like, NIL money should not be going on drugs. It should not be going on drinking because they're not old enough to drink. Even if they're old enough to drink and they're like seniors.
No, yeah, kind of like
it should definitely not be gambling.
almost like not a food stamps-esque thing, but you know what I mean, like something like that, like
going on firearms if they're legal, anything like that. Like,
it's an odd one. If I was a smart team, I'd get them to invest it and put it in accounts for themselves and stuff like that, and try and
property, like say, teach them how to find property and like say stuff that will hold its value.
Yeah, absolutely. But
not chains that have got
yeah
spliffs on them and AK-47s and grills, for God's sake.
Yeah. Anyhow, I have a feeling we have not heard the last of this, so we will continue to chat about it as it goes on. But the minute, Texas Tech are facing a massive revolt here right now, and this could really escalate sooner rather than later. Anywho, we move on. See, Lisa is in the chat. Hope you are doing well, Lisa. She goes, hello, Anthony and Ryan. Appreciate you and appreciate anyone else who is watching as well. Hopefully, maybe we have some CUSA fans in the building, hence why this is, that's why we do them. So spread the word far and wide. Let people know that they can come and hear about their teams more in depth than they will find elsewhere. And that brings us on to what we're doing. So as we mentioned, during the off season, one of the things we like to do our conference previews where we go through the conferences one by one and we just break down teams bit by bit, let you know how they did last year, sort of the current coaching situation, a little bit of a preview as to what next season looks like, and just again shine a spotlight on some teams that otherwise kind of get forgotten about, especially when it comes to the group of five. But technically group of six now programs. So just very quickly, as a quite, are you calling it the Power Five or the group of six? Because people are saying it's the group of six now, but it don't feel right. Are you classing the Pack as a group of five team? I don't know how to.
For now, yeah. Until they show me they're ready to get back prestige.
All right, okay then. Right, so we're doing the group of six previews right now, and as well we'll be doing all sorts of other stuff over the summer as well. Anything you want from us, you can ask, and we shall do it. Contrapastan's in the building. He goes, hey, Lisa. He goes, looking forward to the knowledge, boys. Appreciate you. And I think it's for Mile Marker. If you're watching Mile Marker, there has been a payoff to a question you asked us last year in these previews. So it pays to ask us questions. It may not happen sooner, but it might happen later. There's a lovely little bit of info came up from one of these today. So what I'm going to try and do, as the summer goes on, I'm going to try and produce this better. What I want to do is because I write a whole big list for these things. I've got so we got 10 teams to do. We're splitting it into 2 shows because if you try and do all the teams at once, it goes for like 3 or 4 hours.
It's like 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So we're splitting them. So we've got 10 teams. We're going to do 5 tonight, and I've got 35 pages for them. So it takes a little bit of time, but I want to put it down into bite-sized form so you can watch it on the screen or you can see the bits, but it is a lot of work. I will get to it eventually. I think what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to screen share and show you my notes as we go along. I will blow it up so you can see some of the main metrics and stuff like that, and we will come up with something a little more streamlined as we go. But what you can get at the bottom of this is we are very thorough. We like to give every team an equal platform to shine on. So if you just bear with me one moment, I'm going to get the screen up you're going to see. Just make sure there's nothing incriminating up that people can see. Jokes. There we go. Window capture. Left window. Where are we? Bidding. So hopefully now you should be able to see my preview sheet. Obviously, some of the writing's not the biggest in the world, but I will blow up the stuff that is important for you, and you can read it as you go along, and you can go back and look through all this because there is a lot of information involved, a lot to remember. But this is how it looks to me. 1 year, I'm going to release something that might be a book or something with this stuff in it, and you can read it a lot easier instead. But for now, this is what we do. So, as we mentioned, we start with the group 6 teams, and first and foremost, we have Conference USA, and as you can see here, a 10-team roster for this season. We have the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens, we've got the Florida International Panthers, we got the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, we've got the Kennesaw State Owls, we got the Liberty Flames. Those are the 5 teams we're going to look at today, and then in next episode I've got the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders, the Missouri State Bears, the New Mexico State Aggies, the Sam Houston Bearcats, and the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. And there's a little map there on the bottom which kind of shows you the how these teams are dispersed around the country. As you can see, primarily in the South and the Southeast. Maybe one of the conferences that is technically a little bit closer together, but not also because America's huge and whatnot. I've got a few alignment notes here because, as always, alignment always changes. 2 teams have changed. It was a 12-man roster last year. UTEP, the University of Texas El Paso, departed for the Mountain West, and Louisiana Tech departed for the Sun Belt, though not without controversy, because I believe CUSA is still trying to fight this. But the Sun Belt obviously needed a new member, losing Texas State to the new Pac-12. Louisiana Tech is the team they chose, not against the CUSA's wishes, or against the CUSA's wishes, but they're gone. So these are the 10 teams we have. And before we go down into it, I'm just going to come out the screen and quickly discuss the CUSA first, right? So it's not the sexiest conference, I think we can agree. This is not the conference where you get a ton of draft picks every year. You seem to be getting less and less from the conference, and for that reason, a lot of people think, well, okay, maybe there's not much to it, but, I mean, with the CUSA, you have to look a little deeper, right? Just because guys are not getting drafted necessarily from this conference, it doesn't mean this isn't the starting place for a lot of players that do eventually get drafted. This is a hotbed for young talent starting out at smaller schools who maybe didn't get the biggest offers in the world, who are going to go on to much bigger and better things. Coaches, and especially the coaching lineup this year, is full of a lot of coaches who I think you're going to see at much higher levels going forward. That's the beauty of these conferences, right? You may not get the sexy draft picks here, but this is the start for a lot of players. This is where you can resurrect your career if it's gone bad. This is a stopping point for guys from the FCS who are on the ascendancy. This is where young freshmen get a chance to make an opportunity year one and make a name for themselves. I don't know about you, but I love these conferences as much as the rest. It's not the glitz and the glamour. This is where the hard work happens, and this is where the beginnings happen.
Yeah, like you say, this conference has developed a stepping stone for a lot of big players. You saw like Caden Salter going from Liberty to make the jump up to a next level. You've seen huge QBs coming out of Western Kentucky, like say Van der Kamp, like say Bailey Zappi. You just saw a star running back in Cook out of Jackson State that took the world by storm, make his name there. FIU sent some players up to, like say, the power schools in recent years. And you've had the interesting additions of Missouri State, like say, that have come in, been very good. And like say, you got Delaware that have come in, like say, they're a juggernaut. They've got a high-powered offense. They played some exciting football last year. One of the most prominent, like say, group of 5 quarterbacks. The Lions just signed a Delaware receiver in Duplessis. Like it's a slot guy, like say, there's a lot of names out there. And I like the fact also that you've got a lot of adjoining and overlapping states. As you say, the CUSA, a lot less spread out than most conferences. Right, so obviously it covers the whole South, but you do have a lot of states that are interconnected. It does create for some somewhat rivalries. There are some teams here that do feel like, say, they're going up against each other. You've got a little between, like, say, FIU and Western Kentucky. You've got a little bit of a cluster there of teams, like, say, that, yeah, they do create rivalries playing each other frequently. And you've got, like, say, Texas, you've got New Mexico, and that Texas kind of rivalry there over on the Southwest. So, like I say, it's a good conference. Like I say, it's done well to make some additions. It's going to be a conference that will always lose its best teams. As soon as a team becomes prominent or gets a little bit of cash, they will look to depart quickly for prospers new. And that's just kind of be there. They just got to take the rough with the smooth. But yeah, if they can continue, like Delaware, Missouri State, to take the best FCS schools, then the CUSA will continue to thrive because they're the gateway now from, like say, lower D1 to higher D1 right now.
Exactly, and the last 2 winners of the conference, new FCS members who've not been up that long now. The old powers have been, shaken here. It's the new guys who were
USA, and it's quite a level playing field.
You need a good head coach who can recruit well, and that is about it. And
Florida in Texas, and you have small schools.
Yeah, you've got some hotbeds you can recruit from, and if you make a name for yourself, and you, especially positionally wise, some of these teams have positionally made a name for themselves. You can drag recruits far beyond your station down and get them on your team. And again, the amount of talent that gets hemorrhaged to the higher levels shows you there is a lot of prominence here. So we are going to get on with this. So let me again go back into screen. And again, if it is a little small, I apologize. This is how I do it for me. We will do something a little better as we go on. So as I mentioned, we got the 10 teams, and today we're looking at the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens, the Florida International Panthers, the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, the Kennesaw State Owls, and the Liberty Flames. And as you can see there, the current champions, boy howdy, no one saw that coming 12 months ago, but I'll save their praise for what we do with them. So as I mentioned, you can see the alignment notes there, the teams themselves. So let's head on down to the team previews, and this is what we've got. So we're starting, for the first time ever, this is the first time we've done them, because we didn't do these last year, and they've only been up 2 years. The first team we are previewing of our new college football season, the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens, one of the best names in existence, established in 1889. They are located at the Delaware Stadium in Newark, Delaware. They have rivalries with Delaware State, called the Route 1 rivalry, my bad. Villanova, the Battle of the Blue. William and Mary, and James Madison. 2024, they had a record of 9-2. They were 6-2 in the Colonial Athletic Association, and then they made the jump to Conference USA last year, where they ended up sporting a very good winning 7-6 record, and they went straight 500 in the conference, 4-4, which a lot of people maybe didn't see coming. Coach here, Ryan Carty, he is 42 years old. It is his 5th season in charge. He is an offensively minded coach. He is a Delaware alum, and never hinders you to be an alum of where you were. He was actually the backup a long time to one Joe Flacco, and he is a disciple of K.C. Keeler, a name we all know round this scene. He was recruited by Chip Kelly to New Hampshire in 2007. He spent 10 years coaching all positions on offense before becoming the offensive coordinator. He was recruited by Keeler to Sam Houston as offensive coordinator. He was FCS Coordinator of the Year in 2020 as Sam Houston won their first ever FCS championship. And he got his first shot as a head coach with his alma mater in December 2021. And over the last 4 years, he's compiled a 33-17 record. He made the FCS playoffs in his first 2 seasons, both years getting wins in the first round before being bounced on the road by top 2 seeds. No shame in that. They were ineligible for postseason play in 2024 with the move to the FBS, but they still went 9-2, and then they made the move up, and the Blue Hens' first season up in the FBS was promising, with the team ending up with a 7-6 winning record and a victory over the Louisiana Raging Cajuns in the 68 Ventures Bowl. In fact, I'll switch between these. But yeah, as I mentioned, Ryan Carty. Ryan, someone who has done a tremendous job with this Delaware team and, you know, knows the team inside and out, done a lot with them and has brought them up. First season, pretty good. Bowl win, 500 in the conference, plus 500 overall. I think looking at it, you probably couldn't have asked for much better than that.
Nope. Like you say, he knows the team inside out. He's been away, worked really hard. I remember the Bearcats team in 2020 that won the national title and kind of took the world by storm. They kind of unseated the apple cart in that season. They were absolutely tremendous going forward. They had such a high-powered offense. Like I say, it sent a lot of potential players up to, like I say, CFL, UFL, NFL practice squads, like I say, invite camps. He's worked with some incredible players. Keeler is a great guy to follow around the country, embedding, like I say, in a high-powered, good tempo offense. It's balanced, like I say, it's through the air. And this year, like I say, I thought I had a great season. Like I say, that 7-6 could have easily been 8-5, 9-4. Like I say, the games where they did let themselves down with, but they stuck to their brand of football that was airing it out when possible, with a strong passing offense, with a QB that he knows well. Like I said, that came in and instantly glued him in. And I imagine there's probably a couple of teams eyeing him up as a future offensive coordinator in the FBS potential Power 4 conferences at being only 42 years old. He is a young coach to those who had been, like say, his 5th full season as a head coach. So yeah, I think he might struggle to keep hold of him, but that's just the way these things go. I think he will naturally, in the next couple of seasons, will move on to pastures new, and it'll probably be up the food chain.
Yeah, I think the CUSA head coaching list this year, it's stacked with future stars, and this all starts off with Ryan Carty here at Delaware, obviously first alphabetically, but as I say, yeah, tremendous job he's done so far. Obviously, next year, it's all about maintaining that consistency. Now the league finds out about you. Now we do a little bit about the draft history of teams. No draft picks in 2025 for the Blue Hens. Their last ever draft pick was the defensive back Nasir Adderley. He was picked round 2, number 60 in 2019 by the LA Chargers. In terms of the Detroit Lions, you have to go back a very, very long time since they last drafted a Delaware player. You've got the quarterback Jeff Comlow, who was picked in round 9, pick 231, back in 1979. If only Brent was still here. I miss him every day. He would probably know who Jeff Comlow was, so, you know, I miss that there. Taking a look at the results and rankings for them, and I don't know why I've done theirs this way, but as you can see, the wins at home to Delaware State in the Route 1 rivalry, a huge win over UConn, who have been a fantastic team the last few years, an overtime shootout win 44-41, away at Florida International, at home to Middle Tennessee State, at home to Louisiana Tech, at home to UTEP, and then the Ventures Bowl win as well. The losses, away at Colorado in the non-cons, versus Western Kentucky, no shame in that. At Jacksonville State, made the championship game. At Liberty, no shame in that. At Sam Houston, at Wake Forest. I mean, a pretty easy thing to find there, right? 5 losses of your 6 on the road, but you won all your home games. That's the big deal for a team like them when you're coming up. Defend your home, win those, and you will get a good record.
Yeah, traveling is hard. Like I say, they probably weren't used to it, and it showed. I mean, all the losses. I mean, if you take out the two big boys, like say Wake Forest and Colorado, pretty competitive in most of the losses. Like I say, they came down to 1 and 2 score games, so they'll learn from the experiences of big losses at Colorado and the Demon Deacons. But yeah, like I say, it's one of those where maybe something's just not right with the way the preparation. They cooled down, they let themselves relax too much on the road. Like I say, maybe there was too much enjoying it, or like I say, not getting over the wins at home. So I think this year will probably look to balance that out a little bit better. Like I say, try do a bit better on the road. But yeah, great defending their home territory. Like I say, it's yeah, these are easy things to fix when you can kind of identify where the problems really are. And yeah, it's however they were preparing for the road games and dealing with time differences, travel, jet lag, preparations, like I say, things like that. They just need to tweak this year.
Yeah, and you can always see in the rankings, you can kind of see where the issues are, and there are a lot of explanations, and this is no different. So hopefully you can see all the rankings here well enough. So total offense, they were 35th in the nation, which for a CUSA team is pretty damn high at 411 yards per game. Their total defense, however, was 102nd, giving up over 405 yards per game. Scoring offense, they were 56th, straight up 29 points per game. Scoring defense was 115th, though, at 31 points per game. Offensively, not hard to see here. Rushing offense, they were 112th. They got less than 120 yards per game and 20 touchdowns. But passing offense, they had the 7th best passing offense in the nation, fronted by a quarterback we're going to talk about in a minute, who Ryan adores, but nearly 300 passing yards per game and 24 touchdowns there. Streaks to a definitely one-dimensional attack and probably explains the road troubles. When you can't run on the road, you've got issues. The rushing defense was 83rd. The passing defense was 115th. In terms of sacks, they were 69th with 26. Sacks allowed, they were 86th with 27. So some issues on the line. I couldn't do TFLs because the NCAA have this weird thing where when a team comes up for the first year, they don't put the stats on their website, so I've got to wait till next year. So I had to go and find all these elsewhere. So I can't do TFLs, but turnover margin, 8th in the nation. They gained 25 turnovers. They only lost it 13 times. That is a 2-to-1 split there. I mean, kind of easy to discern what went on here, right? You had a very good offense fronted by one of the best quarterbacks in the group of 5 who gave you a lot of opportunities to win on games. And then a defense that was leaky, but at the same point, they've just come up from the FCS. You can kind of expect that. I know some numbers are bad, but overall, you've got to be pretty happy with that. And to have a top 35 offense in the country, that's no mean feat for a CUSA side.
Yeah, like I say, it's very lopsided, but coming with an offensive coach that has been doing this for years, it was no surprise, like you say, that they were a prominent passing offense. Yes, they were too one-dimensional, as you say, on the road, where, no disrespect to Delaware, they won't have taken many fans to a lot of them road games. And when you're trying to pass in front of a partisan crowd that is kind of getting on top here, and like say a defense that can smother the passing game, and you don't have that ability to lighten the box, like say, or to be able to spread out a defense, they know what you're going to do. Like say, you got these guys kind of just sitting on coverages because they don't fear the run game. It's kind of easy to nullify an offense, like I say. Very well, though, to say that they were such a passing offense, to have so few takeaways, like I say, so
Yeah.
few turnovers in such a prominent passing offense, is quite a surprise that the interception hat count is not much higher. I'd say that's a credit to the quarterback protecting the ball in an offense where you know that they're going to throw the ball 93% of the time. And guys were still not baiting him, reading him, and jumping him. So that is a testament to how tidy they were. It was just a lot of punts.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so they just turned the ball over, and that then goes as well. When you can't run the ball, you can't manage the clock.
No.
And look at the games where they should have won, losing by 3, losing by 3, losing by 7. That's because they couldn't control the clock
Yeah.
because they were playing teams that couldn't run. So yeah, ultimately, like I say, it's not about points, it's about game management. And
Yeah,
they just lost their way in those games and gave the ball back with too much time.
yeah, exactly.
But those things,
It's
like I said, they are quite easy to fix for the most part. Yeah, defense, we knew it was going to be leaky. If
yep.
they fix the defense a little bit last year and are still a passing offense, they go 9-3.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And the teams you lose to, Jack State, Liberty, the two Power 4 teams, like, you're not losing to scrubs. There's no scrub loss on there, really. I mean, the worst loss is Sam Houston, which I guess maybe is the bad one, but you're on the road still. But it is what it is. But those are perfectly good numbers for Delaware in the first year, because they fixed that defense, and you are going to do well. However, it is not as simple as that. An off-season happens, players change, players leave, players arrive, and things are different. So how do the things stack up for the 2026 season preview for Delaware? And as always, we do quarterback, offense, and defense. We're starting with the quarterback. I think it's safe to say, Ryan, there are absolutely no issues here at quarterback, accepting things like injury, etc. happening. Nick Minicucci, your darling, the senior, he's 6'2", 215 pounds. He is a career blue hen, which all helps. Saw just enough action in his freshman and sophomore years, which unfortunately prohibited him getting any red shirts. But he's entered his junior year as a backup to Zach Marker. Zach Marker got injured in the first quarter of the season, and Minicucci got thrown straight into the Route 1 rivalry against Delaware State. He threw at 78% efficiency for 275 yards and 3 touchdowns. He never looked back after that. Overall, he went 323 out of 513, which is 63%, which for a first-year starter is pretty damn good. 3,703 passing yards with 23 touchdowns and just 7 interceptions, a better than 3-to-1 ratio for TDs to interceptions. Contributed 370 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns on the ground. So he may not be Lamar Jackson, but get him in the end zone and the dude has the wheels to put the ball away. His 3,703 passing yards ranked 5th in the nation and 2nd best in the group of 6 behind freshman phenom Drew Mestamaker. I think in every other year in the last 10 years that probably would have led it. But I mean, right, what an incredible season for you. This is what the CUSA can do. This is a kid who had seen very little action in his first 2 years, suddenly vaunted to superstardom, and to have such wonderful numbers in his first year is just shows you how good he is.
Yeah, definition of a late bloomer. Like you say, without the injury to Marker, you probably don't see him.
Nope.
I mean, unless Marker struggles, but this is a case of, like say, what if? He's just got his chance. He's taken, like say, the group of 5 by storm. Like say, the turnovers, the turnover where he plays, the percentage is so low. He's just deadly accurate. And even the incompletions, like I say, not putting the ball in harm's way, always giving his a guy the chance. Fantastic in the red zone. 6'2", 215, he ain't small either. Like I say, he's a well-built guy. He's very physical in the run game, and he was super dominant at line of scrimmage in those short yardage plays. Like you say, he would rumble when he needed to, took his shots. Commanded an offense, like I say, led with some serious talent in that passing. Those wide receiver rooms, like I say, mentioned Duplessis, other guys. There was a very good call for him to work with there. Like I say, and a head coach that he knows incredibly well. Like I say, he's an extension of the QB on the field. Like I say, they work in tandem. I expect Nick to be on a practice squad next year. If not, probably like a start in the UFL. I think that's a good route. I could see him starting in the UFL next year, and I think he'd do very well. And he could end up finding his way to be, like, say, a QB3 in the NFL and latch on to, like, say, one of those guys that sticks around on a roster, like, say, and hopefully catches on to you. It's a big year for him.
I was about to say
he's got the chance to be a late day 3 draft pick if he has an absolutely stellar year.
I was about to say, do you think that's where he could be? Because obviously 2 years it's not a lot, especially when you're a CUSA quarterback. You can throw for 5,000 yards. It's still going to be tough, but he's doing himself every opportunity here. And it's a shame because you look at those numbers in his first 2 years and you're like, oh, why couldn't you give the guy a red shirt? Like, he deserves a third year to maybe go on to a bigger program for 1 year and that. Maybe he might try and, I don't know what the rules are on it,
I'm
but
going to
he's
say, if
kind
it,
of just
yeah,
over the
depending on what he does
threshold.
this year, he might try to find a way
Yeah.
to come back
He's,
next
he's
year.
only just over the threshold. I think there should be some sort of limit. Like he's been a late bloomer. He's had to wait his chance. I think he deserves a third season to really go after that draft pick. But yeah, Minakuchi is certainly going to be a really exciting prospect going forward. I'm just going to quickly every now and then jump out, make sure I'm not missing any chat, but I'm not so far. So that is Delaware's quarterback situation for this year. It is in a good spot. So let's move on to the offense. The offense led by coordinator Terrence Archer in his third season. Archer's another from the KC Keeler Bearcats that won the championship in 2020. He's a receiver specialist with tracks with what Ryan was just saying there. He and Carty both have air raid backgrounds and they utilize these spread concepts in their offense. He's coached 14 all-conference receivers who have broken numerous school records, both at Sam Houston and Delaware. But yeah, in terms of the offense in general, the running room is looking pretty good. You've got Joe Silva and Vyron Ellison Jr. They combined for over 1,100 rushing yards and 9 rushing touchdowns in 2025. They are both back, and they've been joined out the portal by Kaderis Roberts. He has over 1,000 rushing yards in college over spells at Stetson and Bowling Green, so the running back room is healthy. The receiver room, though, it has taken a huge hit. 3 of their top 5 receivers by yards were lost to eligibility, whilst another transferred to New Hampshire. The one guy they did keep, however, was their leading receiver by yards, Sean Wilson. He is back after a breakout redshirt freshman season. He went for 877 yards and 3 touchdowns, so they have their centerpiece to work around. They've gone to the portal. They poached Coastal Carolina slot receiver Bryson Graves, but the rest of this room's going to be coming from homegrown recruits and second-year transfers. But again, look at the offensive coordinator. Terrence Archer has created 14 all-conference receivers. If there's anyone who's going to work with these homegrown recruits, he will do. The tight end room has not been uber productive for the Hens. Elijah Sessoms is the veteran. He's primarily a blocker. Not a great one, receiving little input as well. They got Josh Humes in from Coastal Carolina. He's a former JUCO standout. Didn't really get a chance for the Chanticleers. But the rest of the room is made up of, again, uber young recruits who the Hens will really need to step up and progress. The offensive line lost its left tackle Anwar O'Neal to Louisville, and left guard Finton Boza ran out of eligibility, so it needs a new left-hand side. However, three-fifths of it, you've got a really good line. You've got Stephen Dombrowski at centre, Anthony Cassisi at right guard, and Noah Rosahek at right tackle. They were all first-time starters last season, so you're going to have natural development here. It's going to have good foundation for them to work with now that they're going to be multi-year starters. You've got the former 3-star Jack Small out of the portal from Duke, and you've got Division II standout Mustafa Faker from Tiffin to battle it out with, again, a clutch of homegrown first and second year players to fill out the depth chart. So, I mean, you look at it overall, right? 3/5 of your offensive line are intact. You've just got to find a new left-hand side, but your running back room's steady. Your offensive coordinator is a wide receivers guy. I mean, overall, yeah, a lot of Group of 5 suffer, but it's not the worst position in the world to be in. And you've got a centerpiece wide receiver to work around as well. This is certainly not the toughest situation any team's going to find for themselves on offense in the Group of 5 this year.
No, like I say, they're going to hit the market. They've gone at the portal. Like I say, they're bringing up these D2 FCS guys, but they're also, yeah, scooping up the guys, like say, guys like has been at Duke Small that were never going to get any playing time, but they could come in here straight away and slot in at a position, like I say, gain valuable experience going forward. So it offers a good room, like I say, in a potent passing offense. So these guys coming in know they can show off what they can do. Like I said, it's going to be on the running guys to take some pressure off Nick this year and a revamp room. So like I say, Silva and Ellison, they need to up those numbers this year. But for that to happen, he's got to give him some carries. I think Archer this year might lean towards, like you say, a bit more time to, like I say, put in the running game, put in a bit more of a scheme for it, plan it, and like I say, don't just, like I say, be a backup option kind of lead with it in games. So I think you'll see a more balanced snap count this year, I think, in their player selection.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good position for them to be in, so not too worried about them there. Switching sides of the ball, and the defense is the area that needs to be fixed. You've got defensive coordinator Manny Rojas. It's his 7th season in Delaware. He has been at the team a long time. He was linebackers coach first. He then left, but then came back as defensive coordinator. He's produced 32 all-conference defensive players and 22 All-Americans, including Super Bowl winner Troy Reeder. He likes to use a base 3-3-5, which includes 3 safeties, a cat, a rover, and a field safety. So in terms of the players, they've lost the pass rushing nose tackle Keyshawn Hunter to eligibility, which won't help the low sack totals. But the other 2 nose tackles, you've got Dominic Bronya and Nick Karika. They are both back. You've got big changes coming at edge. Most of the main contributors are out of eligibility, although that might not be a bad thing with the low sack totals, as mentioned. You got the redshirt sophomore Trey Scott III. He is back. He joint led the team with 4 sacks in a limited role, so he's going to look to take a step forward, and he's got a veteran partner in Noah Matthews. But outside of that, again, it's going to be new blood in this team. At linebacker, you've got Gavin Moole and Blake Matthews. They form the backbone here, and they've picked up a coup in the portal. They've got Long Island transfer Jalen Bell, who's coming in to fight for their rover role. So you've got a good selection of starters there in their linebacker room. The cornerback room lost its star in Nate Evans due to eligibility, but you've got a budding star. You've got true sophomore Jamarian Colagbody. He made the all-true freshman team for the CUSA. He had a pick, a forced fumble, 4 pass breakups, gave up just a 73 passer rating and 56% on his completions last year. They got another impressive get out of the portal. You've got Jaquise Alexander arriving from North Dakota State. He's played over 1,100 snaps for them. You know their guys like to fight against the run. You got Keyshawn Cox. He's got a veteran starter. But again, behind that, you've got a lot of young recruits, so the depth is going to be tested in that room, and it wasn't the best unit last year. At safety, they lost Mysone Pollard, who had 4 interceptions, which joint led the team last year. But their other 2 primary starters are back. You've got KTCA, who has 7 interceptions in the last 2 years, and you've got Khalil Ali. But all the rotation snaps behind them are gone. And again, the room is incredibly young with mostly untested homegrown recruits. And you got freshman transfer George Mullins from Michigan State. So youngsters are going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the team this year. And on a special teams note, and this is the only special teams note you'll get in any of these because I don't go that far, they've just transferred in a new kicker from Salisbury, Tucker Smack. He is the brother of recently drafted Florida kicker Trey, so we have another smack in the room. But the offense is pretty much where it needs to be, right? But that defense, it's going to get younger this year. Maybe that's not a bad thing, but possibly some growing pains early on. You've got a couple of guys, but for the most part, you're looking at the youngsters coming through here.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, like, say, where they rank nationally, the defense in most parts couldn't get much worse. So losing some guys might not be a bad thing. Like you say, getting in this young blood, like you say, they've hit the transfer portal hard, especially, like you say, from the FCS and D2, giving these chances a guy to step up, and then hoovering up some guys that have gone to big Power 4 schools but have not played yet and were never going to play. So yeah, they've got a few veteran leaders in each position, and then the rest of them are going to, like you say, be scrapping, like you say, with guys. But yeah, I think it's the only way the defense really can go up, because, like I say, even in the wins last year, their defense was very vulnerable and gave up a lot of yards and points even in the games they won. So yeah, like I say, it's a big year for, like I say, Manny. Like I say, without knowing, like I say, on the outside in, I'd imagine the seat is warm if the defense is shedding big numbers again this year.
Yeah, a lot of individual success, but needs more unit success. But yeah, we will see what happens with Delaware this year. You're going to see a lot of new names on that defense. In terms of the schedule, thankfully all the CUSA teams play a nice simple 6 home, 6 away schedule. Their non-cons.
First half is hard.
The first half is difficult. They're at home to Merrimack and Coastal Carolina. And then they're away to Vanderbilt and Virginia as their power schools. In terms of conference play, you've got a home game against Liberty to start. Then you hit your bye. Then you've got a long stretch. So you're at Middle Tennessee versus Missouri State, away at Western Kentucky and Kennesaw State, at home to FIU, away at New Mexico State, and versus Jacksonville State. I mean, that's not easy. Liberty are due a rebound. Missouri State were just as good as them coming up last year, if not better. FIU under Willie Simmons never have losing seasons. Jacksonville State will want to get back to where they are. So that home slate's not easy. And then, MTSU, fine. But then you've got to go to Western Kentucky, the conference champions, and New Mexico State as well. That is tough going. You've got to get this defense sorted by that bye and ready for conference season, because it's not going to be forgiving for you.
No, the defense could get wrecked before the bye. Vandy, Coastal, Virginia, Ledbetter. Like I said, they could lay some big numbers on them. Like I say, it'll be what shape do they get into that MTSU game by? Like I say, it's going to be very difficult. Like I say, there's a lot of travelling there, some really tough road contests. I'll be very impressed if they match. If they get to, like I say, primary, like I say, objective is get back to a bowl game.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. And then, as always, we finish off with the player to watch. I mentioned him already, but the young sophomore cornerback, Jamarian Collick-Bodie, he is the one you want to watch there. The CUSA, for its DBs, is becoming more and more known. He's hopefully going to shine in his sophomore year there. But overall, things not looking too bad for Delaware. You fixed that defense out. The offense is in place. Potentially a good run for you this year. Not missing out on any comments. If you got anything you want to say as we go along, please just let us know. Or if you're just enjoying it, then please carry on doing so. Right, next on the list. Maybe this is one of my adoptive teams. I love them for some reason more than a lot of other teams. We've got the Florida International Panthers. They used to be the first team we did every year before Delaware arrived, but I love FIU, and I love talking about them. Established in 2002, located at the Pitbull Stadium in Miami, Florida. Now, the big rivalry obviously with Florida Atlantic, known as the Shula Bowl, named after legendary Dolphins head coach Don Shula, and is a celebration of football in South Florida. FAU lead the series 17-5, but FIU snapped a long losing streak dating back to 2016 last year. In 2024, they went 4-8 overall, 3-5 in Conference USA. Mike McIntyre was fired, and in came Willie Simmons, the man who cannot have a losing season no matter how hard he may or may not try. They went 7-6 overall last year, 5-3 in Conference USA, and again, the coach, he's one of my favorites in college football, period. He is 45 years old. It is his second season. Again, another offensively minded coach, is again the man who can't stop winning. He got his break in coaching from Rick Stockstill at Middle Tennessee in 2007. Spent the next 7 years coaching running backs. He worked up to an offensive coordinator job there and then at Alcorn State before getting his first job at Prairie View A&M in 2015. His first season, he engineered the highest scoring offense in the nation at 45 points per game and rattled off 3 straight winning seasons, which had only happened once in Panthers history prior to him. He then moved on to Florida A&M in 2018 and immediately arrested a 7-year losing streak for the Rattlers with an opening 6-5 season. He then pulled off 999 win seasons either side of the COVID year. He had a Buck Buchanan winner in Isaiah Land, an All-American safety in Marquise Bell, who went on to be drafted by the Cowboys. But the masterpiece came in 2023. The Rattlers went 12-1. They won the SWAC Championship, the Black College National Championship, and the Celebration Bowl, and he earned himself SWAC Coach of the Year. He then left to go to the FBS for a year with Duke as running backs coach, where he mentored Star Thomas before getting the call from FIU to come home to Florida. Now, the Panthers were coming off back-to-back 4-8 seasons. They had not registered a winning season since 2018, and after a 3-5 start, where you're thinking maybe the run's over, FIU found their groove. They rattled off 4 straight wins to eventually end up 7-6. In year 1, he snapped a 7-game losing streak in the Shula Bowl against Florida Atlantic. He got FIU's first winning season since 2018 and their first bowl game appearance since 2019. He's never had a losing season as a head coach, despite Florida A&M, sorry, not TAMU, being under sanctions when he arrived, and Florida International reeling from the disaster reign of Mike McIntyre, with both teams on major losing season streaks. He's one of the best young coaches in football. He will be tested in 2026 as eligibility in the portal have bled his year 1 roster dry, but what is new in the CUSA, what is not in doubt, right, is that Willie Simmons is one hell of a head coach, and FIU did really well landing him.
Yeah, like you say, he comes in, he brings energy, he brings a spark to teams that comes in. He's someone that is like the fairy godmother. He comes in, sprinkles dust, but like you say, he moves on very quickly. Like you say, he likes the change of pace, he likes the scenery. He comes in, he never lets things get stale. He always knows when, like you say, maybe he thinks he's taking a team as far as he can, or he leaves them in the very best position, which is possible for him. So yeah, but he come back at just the right time, and he's very quickly found his feet. Like I say, a team that was going nowhere, stuck in the mud. Like I say, he's got them. Like I say, he's turned the corner. Like I say, last year wasn't brilliant, but at least by their standards, it was much better than they've been used to. Like I say, he always brings in, like I say, he's got good relationships with recruiters and staff and players all around the country, especially in that southeast area around Florida, like you say, so he knows the area like the back of his hand and always does an incredibly job to do very well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he does this year. But yeah, the guy is a winner. The guy has sent some serious talent to the draft that has coached underneath him, and I'd like to think that he has had a say in how they've done in their progression.
Absolutely, he does. Willie Simmons off to a good start with FIU. In terms of FIU's draft history, no draft picks this year. I should say 2026. I don't know why I've not updated it. The last picks they had were in 2020. The quarterback James Morgan and the defensive back Stanley Thomas Oliver were the picks. The Lions have never drafted a player from FIU. Hopefully that changes whilst Willie is in charge. In terms of the 2025 results, you can see here wins against Bethune-Cookman, Florida Atlantic, away at Western Kentucky, away at Middle Tennessee, at home to Liberty and Jacksonville State, and away at Sam Houston. So some big wins there. The losses at number 2 Penn State, at home to Delaware, away at UConn, at home to eventual champions Kennesaw State, at Missouri State, and versus UTSA in the First Responder Bowl. So obviously some games they could have won there that maybe they should have and they didn't. But overall, 7-6 year, you will take that. In terms of the team's rankings, they ranked 57th in total offense with just a smidge under 400 yards per game. But in total defense, they were 108th, going at nearly 412 yards per game. So much like Delaware, good offense, bad defense. The scoring offense was 60th nationally with 28.5 points per game. The scoring defense was 103rd, giving up just under 30 points per game. In terms of the offense, a bit more balanced. The rushing offense was 36th. Just over 180 yards per game and 26 touchdowns. The passing offense was 85th with 215 yards per game and 20 touchdowns. So a bit more balanced, but more of a rushing team. Rushing defense was 83rd. They gave up 160 yards per game and 20 touchdowns. And the passing defense, given how much talent they've sent out their secondary this year to the Power 4, it just defies belief, but they were 117th. They gave up 250 yards per game and 26 touchdowns. It is a misnomer. In terms of the defensive line, pretty good numbers. 36th in sacks with 31, 75th in tackles for loss with 69. Offensive line, sacks allowed, they were 66th with 24. Tackles for loss allowed, 91st with 74. Always makes sense with more run-heavy teams. They give up more tackles for loss than sacks. In terms of turnover margin, they were 71st. They gained 21. and they lost 21. So again, a story here, right? Of a 7-6 team, kind of on the precipice here. One that's fronted by its offense that scores a little bit more there, but the trenches not too bad. You make that turnover margin a little bit better. Turnovers win and lose games. I think that's where you can maybe nail it down to there, that the turnover margins are not acceptable, and that defense needs to get a little bit better. But again, not the worst numbers for a CUSA team.
No, like you say, they're pretty much equal in points conceded, points scored, and yards given up and yards gained. It's pretty even across the board. They're very a middle of the road pedestrian team. Like you say, there's a few things they need to clean up. Like you say, tackles for loss. Like you say, like you say, a run team that holds onto the ball longer. Like you say, that comes down to, like you say, the O-line and the receivers, the guys that should be blocking on the outside. It's coming down to individual battles. Guys are getting in their backfield far too frequently. Like I said, that's interrupting and stagnating their offense. So they need to do a bit better at timing, blocking, and cutting down on those negative plays, because it does just make life much harder for themselves. Their passing offense is struggling because all the tackles for loss, because they're getting further behind the chains. And like I said, then they're having to force these kind of throws. So yeah, it's all about balance on its offense. Runs the ball pretty well. Passing needs to improve. Like I say, passing defense. I can live with 250 yards per game, but 26 touchdowns given up, like I say, for a good secondary, that hurts you. You can give up as many yards as you want. If you're giving up, like you say, at least 2 passing touchdowns in every game from your secondary, you're going to struggle, like I say, to win a lot of games that way. So yeah, they're definitely being bailed out. So there's some big areas there they really need to work on.
It's such a big misnomer. Basically, they've just sent their entire secondary to power schools as well. It's one of those stats that doesn't make sense, but it's absolutely true. So, but as I say, yeah, work to be done. But this was Willie Simmons' first year. And this FIU team was rancid before he took it over. So these numbers perfectly acceptable.
I'd imagine most of those turnovers lost would have been fumbles.
There were quite a few fumbles in there, yeah. It takes a lot to break them down as to what they are, but there were a few fumbles involved. Right. As we all say, though, the season is gone, the new season is upon us, and it brings up a new set of problems. So how does 2026 look for the Florida International Panthers, starting at quarterback? And he has a lot of gaps to fill by the time the portal and eligibility were done with his 2025 roster, and quarterback was one of them. Keon Jenkins transferred to UCF after starting the vast majority of the last 3 years, and Holy Cross transferred Joe Pazanski, who started in relief of Jenkins last year due to injury, has run out of eligibility. That has left a very young and inexperienced room of homegrown recruits. So as a result, FIU went out and aggressively invested in the future. Now, you're going to laugh at this, but they handed out one of the biggest NIL deals they ever have, about $140,000, to get the giant 6'7", 245-pound quarterback J.J. Cole out of the portal from Appalachian State. I know Cole quite well. Started out at Iowa State as Rocco Beck's understudy, moved to Appalachian State and got his break. He had 6 starts in 2025, threw for 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. He now wants a permanent starting job, and FIU seem willing to give it to him. They brought in another veteran to stabilize the room. They brought in Zach Marker, who we were just talking about from Delaware, but has been hampered by injuries. But this is a very interesting move here, Ryan, for them. JJ Cole, a lot of potential with him. He is humongous, but showed out well in a small sample size at Appalachian State this year. This feels like a bit of a big get for FIU here. If they keep him upright and they give him a good run game, you feel like this could be a good match for them.
Yeah. I mean, people can scoff at the money, but spending some actual serious NIL at their biggest position of need to upgrade with a veteran quarterback was a must. It was no good going out and scooping up a redshirt sophomore that's barely played or not had a credible season under his belt, like you say. So, and like I say, they've gone and got a giant. He's physical. He's got a big arm. Like I say, he's got a bit of experience under his belt. Like I say, this is a big program that needs to win. It needs a resurgence at the position. So for me, JJ Cole probably looks at this as a potential stepping stone, as a platform for him to build on. If they can keep their run game, or at least mirror what they did last year in the run game, and he can come in and bring a bit of poise to that position, like I say, cut down on the turnovers, like I say, get a bit of a higher completion percentage, then they'll definitely go in the right directions here. It makes sense for him to come here because, like I say, the job's kind of been gift wrapped for him. As long as, like I say, he keeps his calm, his composure, and a bit of poise, that's all they're really looking for. Not they don't need
Yeah,
fireworks.
yeah, I scoff at that because like 140 grand is like a reserve player at an Ohio State or that, and this is the biggest deal they've ever given out. But this is serious money for FIU. They are serious about it. I'm looking forward to watching JJ Cole in Florida. I think he's going to do really well there. But what is the team going to be like around him? So offensively, what are we looking like? So offensive coordinator is Nick Coleman. In his second season came with Willie. He is a quarterback guy. He developed Drew Anderson at Murray State and helped get him to the NFL. He helped develop Spencer Rattler at South Carolina. And then as offensive coordinator, we all remember that season where Jacob Zeno produced one of the greatest quarterback seasons in the history of the Blazers. Hell, in the group of six in recent years, he was the coordinator who oversaw that. So JJ Cole is in very good hands, but there is a lot of turnover they've got to deal with this year, which is not uncommon for them. Star running back Keon Owens, he left for the NFL, and they need someone to step up, but they do have a promising room in his stead. Antony Carey had 470 yards and 5 touchdowns in 2025 as Owens' understudy. They've got highly touted recruit Sterling Joseph, brother of Lexington Joseph. He saw the field last year, had a couple of rushing touchdowns. He's looking to expand his role this season. And they've got Devontae Lyons. He's another homegrown recruit who has seen the field and can step into the rotation as well. So they have the guys there to create a good 1-2-3 punch. The wide receiver room also lost its star. Alex Perry transferred away to Illinois, taking nearly half the team's receiving touchdown production with him. They do have a triumvirate of rotational options. You've got Kyle McNeil, McGuire Anderson, and JoJo Stone. They all had over 20 catches last season, so they've got some good production, but they need someone to stand up to the big wide receiver one tag. The portal has provided possible answers. They had a big get, the Panthers did. 6'3", 205-pound Greg Gaines III. He is just coming off a 1,000-yard season for the Rhode Island Rams, and he's had 2 highly productive seasons overall, so maybe the difference maker they need there. They've lost their lead tight end Dallas Payne. He was second on the team with 4 receiving touchdowns. His 2 primary backups have gone as well. The responsibility of rebuilding that room lies with the young Jackson Verdugo, who showed promising flashes in his true freshman year, and they picked up former Iowa recruit James Resar after he had a stint in JUCO with Independence. 4 of the 5 offensive line starters are gone. 2 to eligibility, 2 left to James Madison. The young redshirt sophomore Anthony Tripp Jr. is the only returner. You've got Zaire Flournoy and Michael Cedino, who've played semi-starter snaps last season, so should be able to slide in there. Portal has brought in plenty of experience. You've got Presbyterian starting right tackle Oscar Colan, former Jacksonville State starting center Davion Harley after he had a year with Cal. You got Western Carolina starting right tackle Manasseh Rippert, and former North Carolina A&T left guard Spencer Webb. But regardless, it's going to be a lot of new bodies, whoever is starting. Now, we talked about the O-line, right? Not the best. You lose 4 or 5 guys. It's not easy, but sometimes it can be a better thing for you. But you've got to get that right, because around it, they have enough to flourish early so long as guys step up. But you've got to sort that line out for JJ Cole. But he's got the perfect mentor there at OC, so the ingredients are here.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's going to come down to how quickly that offensive line plays together, gels early on. Like I say, those guys that come in, they need to form a bond quickly, get a unit or get together. Because like I say, brought in some weapons, you've spent a bit of coin on a QB, you've went and got one of the FCS's most talented receivers in recent years, like the Rhode Island Rams were a consistent playoff threat like I say, they were a big playmaking team that have done well with, like I say, producing some good players that are going to the next level. That's a big addition for them. They had a running back kind of ready made, ready to fill in. Like I say, that's going to take a big workload. So now it's all just essentially, how well can they get protection? How well can they do a good job of giving put JJ Cole a bit of time in the pocket to find these guys that have been brought in to make plays? It's going to live and die by how many sacks they take. And they've already got a huge tackle for loss number already, replacing your whole offensive line. Well, that's not really conducive with cutting that down. So they've got a mammoth task on their hand.
Yeah, that's the one big thing. If you can get a semi-good O-line this year, they're going to have a chance in games, that's for sure. So that is how the offense looks. How does the defense look for them? So the defensive coordinator is Jovan DeWitt. It's his 5th season. He is a holdover from the Mike McIntyre regime. They decided to keep him. And while the numbers from his units over the years might not scream success, he has a yearly stream of his players getting poached by power teams in the portal. So he is a very accomplished talent developer. But what that means is a yearly struggle to field the same defense. He has to field a new defense every year and try and get results with them quickly. And this year is no different. 8 of the top 11 defenders by snap count from 2025 are gone. So I always looked unfavorably on DeWitt, but I've watched his teams over the years and how much talent he's lost. It's a tough situation to be in, but obviously Willie Simon sees something in him, and his ability to develop players is no doubt. The defensive line was one of the hardest hit areas. So at tackle, you got Olasun Konmi Agunloyi and Kalen Hill. They ran out of eligibility. Zion Chapman transferred to Minnesota. That's one for mile marker to watch. But that's double-digit sacks and 50 quarterback pressures gone with them. You've got Jermaine Carter. He showed promise as a redshirt freshman with 20 quarterback pressures. They've got some players coming through the system. You've got a massive 350-pound nose tackle in Antony Smith. He's going into year 2, but the portals had to do some heavy lifting here. You've got the 6', 300-pounder Anthony Cunningham, who's come from UT Permian Basin. You've got 6'3", 320-pounder Jamori Flagg coming from Florida State. You've got RJ Moss and Nathan Jennings, who were both starters for South Alabama last year. And you've got a JUCO transfer, Elijah Simmons. He arrives from West Virginia. So they have gone big and chunky at defensive tackle to try and sum up that run game and make that a little bit easier. One of their starting edges is gone. Keegan Davis gone due to eligibility. They do return Kenton Simmons. He's a JUCO transfer from Butler. He led the CUSA in sacks last season, so they actually have the leading sackmaster in the conference. You've got Florida State transfer Dante Anderson. He broke out big towards the end of 2025. Figures to take on a much more pivotal role this season, as does the other Florida State transfer, Lamont Green Jr. So they've got a good 3-man rotation at edge, but other than that, they've gone for youth. They've not bought in any outright edge reinforcements this year, so they're going with their young guys. The lead linebacker, Johnny Chaney Jr., ran out of eligibility. However, their other homegrown starter, Josiah Taylor, is back. He had a breakout season. And then you got Percy Courtney Jr. He's an in-house replacement for the other starting spot. You got a transfer in from Appalachian State, Brayshawn Littlejohn. They also got 3-star Ja'Cory Stewart from Kansas to come in and provide competition, though he has not seen the field much. But the secondary, man, oh man, that's where it has been completely decimated. Cornerback Mr. Clark has gone to Purdue. Benny Blades II went to Wake Forest. Victor Evans III went to Nebraska. And star freshman safety Josiah McGrew was scalped by Arizona State. And Ryan's going to get to watch a lot more of him this year. And unsurprisingly, FIU have gone to the portal to address cornerback. They got Lawrence Johnson in from their rivals FAU. They managed to get star Lafayette corner Ryan Gadsden out of the FCS, as well as Miles Cunningham from Bucknell. In-house, you've got Arizona transfer Jay Celestine. He had nearly 500 snaps in his first year last year. In terms of safeties, 1-star freshman safety may have left, but FIU actually had 2 last season, and they've managed to hang on to the other one. You've got Shamir Sterling. He had 2 interceptions and 4 pass breakups, and he's going to be the lead man in the room this year. They've got most of their depth room back behind him as well, and then they've got the 2-year starting safety Wesley Miller from South Alabama, and they've got DeAndre Boykins, who was once a starting safety for UNC. So despite all the losses, I mean, FIU have shown to be one of the best secondary development teams like in the FBS, not just in the group of 5. They're likely going to hit on a bunch of new stars, but you know, it's very difficult, isn't it, Ryan? 8 of the top 11 defenders by snap count gone. That's always going to have an impact going into, you know, a new year. But if anyone's shown they can develop the talent, FIU have. But yeah, I feel sorry for Joe Vanderwit. Like, he develops these guys and then loses them like that.
Yeah. But I suppose in a way he's probably used to that by now. He doesn't get attached to anyone. Like I say, he'll create a scheme that is pretty friendly to new people. There won't be too many complicated terms. He'll keep it pretty basic, at least for the camp and spring and into the season before he kind of unloads on them. So he'll be used to rotating and recycling doors. So yeah, they've hit the portal hard at a lot of positions. They've brought in a lot of Power 4 guys that have struggled for playing time. Like I say, they know FIU, it's a big market, so it makes sense for a couple of them to bounce back maybe to where they want to be if they come here and do other stuff. So yeah, they've lost a lot of names, but it's just proof of concept that all the players they've lost are going on to, well, essentially bigger and better things. No one's taken a sideways move, they've all gone up a level, which says a lot about how well this team is doing in separate off the field, like say in games, like people are watching how the players are doing, like say in their own little bubbles, and they see that they've got bright prospects here. So it's going to be another year where a lot of rotation will probably slowly start. Like I say, there'll be teething issues as they gel, but as the season kind of gets into swing, like I say, a couple of these names will make a name for themselves, and they'll probably be as gone as the moment they come through the door again, and they'll be doing it all again next year.
Yeah, like I say, the one good thing is it means players will come. You've got guys like Greg Gaines and Ryan Gadsden, some stars who've come up from the FCS who you might not have got initially because they know they'll get the opportunity and they can take it. So, you know, I still think they'll do well this year. But yeah, that defense is going to be interesting early doors. How does the schedule play out for them in the non-cons? They're away at South Florida and Florida International in the Florida Atlantic, in the Shula Bowl. They got home games against Buffalo and Long Island, so it's not easy, but get a few wins there. Then they get their bye. Then in terms of the non-con, in terms of the conference at home, they've got New Mexico State, Middle Tennessee State, Missouri State, and Sam Houston, which might be the easiest draw you could have got of the lot of them. And then on the road, you're at Jacksonville State, Liberty, Delaware, and Kennesaw State. So you've got 4 eminently winnable home games, but then you've got a bit of a gauntlet of a road schedule there, right? This is very much a win all your home games, sneak 1 or 2 on the road, and you're in a very good position, but lose some of those at home, things could quickly get out of control.
Yeah, like I said, the road games are tough. I mean, you got to look at the scalps there. You think about everything South Florida has lost. I think South Florida fans should be a little bit wary about welcoming FIU week 1. FIU will go there knowing they can pick up a major scalp because it's a team that is reeling and has kind of lost all its core. So that's a team, like I say, it's very, yeah. Like I say, Long Island, all right. Like I said, they're a middling FCS side. The Shula Bowl. Buffalo's had a big turnover, lost their star linebacker to the draft. Lots, like I say, Victor Snow, guys like that have departed now. I think they'll look at some of those first couple of games. I think we might cause an upset here. But with you, handle business at home. Like I said, the road games are going to be tough. You've got a defending champion, one of the best teams, a powerhouse, and a former defending champion after the bye, all on the road.
Yep. Do your business at home and let the rest take care of you. That is the preview for Florida International this season. Moving on to our third team, Jacksonville State. The Gamecocks, established 1904, located at the Amherst Stadium in Jacksonville, Alabama, have rivalries with Samford and Troy, which is the battle for the old school bell. Pretty consistent. The 2024 record, of course, under Rich Rodriguez, 9-5. They went 7-1 in the CUSA. They were champions. First year under Charles Kelly, 2025. They were 9-5 overall. They went 7-1 in the CUSA, but they only ended up as runners-up instead of champions, but back-to-back title appearances for the Gamecocks, who have taken to life in the FBS very well. They are led by Charles Kelly. He is 58. It is his second season. He is a defensive-minded coach, 30 years experience as an assistant coach with stops at programs like Florida State, Alabama, Colorado, Auburn. He had 4 years on the Jacksonville State team in the 90s, which was also his first job in coaching, which was part of the reason why after 3 decades he finally decided to start his head coaching career a lot later than a lot of others. He left his alma mater of Auburn in the process. So he inherited Rich Rodriguez's CUSA championship winning team of 2024, but overall he did a pretty good job in year one. These things can go tits up pretty quickly if it's a new guy in. But he matched the previous year's record. They made the CUSA championship game again before ultimately falling short. And only one of the 5 losses was by more than 1 score. So it weren't like they were getting blown out every week. They were losing small games, narrow margins and all. He did finish the season on a high. They had a victory in the Salute to Veterans Bowl against Troy, in what was the first battle of the old school bell in 24 years, so some pride on the line there. But expectations at the program are now sky high, and the more it becomes his roster with his recruits, the more the magnifying glass will be applied to the job he is doing. I think it's fair to say, Rye, it was a pretty good first year. There was no overall major regression there, but you've now got to put your identity on this team, because if it starts going down, people will remember Rich Rodriguez and not you. But so far for him, mission accomplished, just ultimately came up a little short.
Yeah, like I say, Rich Rodriguez set the bar very high, like I say, with that stellar season he had, like I say, winning the conference, and then he departs, like you say, for a high-profile job. And then it's kind of easy yet to inherit a winning team with a winning culture that's kind of got a style of football. I mean, if you look at the stats, he hasn't tweaked what they were doing. They still do one thing better than most, and they've led by that. But yeah, last season, the bar was there, he matched it, and the fans will have been very happy they saw a minimal drop-off. But now it's like, how do you build on that? How do you take what Rich started, make it your own, but keep the standards there? Yeah, it's very quickly, and it's very easier to see standards drop, like say when you've kind of got to the top of the mountain. Staying there is very difficult. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back after what was, like say, a frustrating end to last season.
It was indeed. It's going to be a big year for Charles Kelly, especially with the CUSA getting tougher in terms of their draft history. No draft picks in 2025. Their last draft pick was in 2018. The defensive back Siren Neal went round 5, pick 154 to the Buffalo Bills. The last time the Lions drafted a player, 1960, the tackle Jim Glasgow, round 14, pick 159. How the hell do you have a round 14 and not be at pick 160? That's how long ago we did that. We don't like picking players from the CUSA, apparently. 2025, in terms of the results, wins at home to Liberty, Murray State, Delaware, Kennesaw State, Western Kentucky, wins on the road to Sam Houston, Middle Tennessee, and UTEP. The losses away at UCF, away at Georgia Southern, away at Southern Miss, away at FIU, but then at home to Kennesaw State. They did play the championship on their home field, so kind of like Delaware at the start, right? You can see where the issues are here. Great at home, on the road, losing very narrow games, and you can tell by one simple stat on there that there's one stat that keeps you in road games, but there's one stat you need to get you over the hump in road games, which they didn't have, and it shows.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. They beat all the teams they know very well, but when you give them a team out of conference, they don't really know what to do. Like I said, they lost to nearly everyone that was out of the CUSA. So it's interesting, like I say, how they don't adjust well. So like I say, going on the road, but also teams that are out of their conference, like they don't know what to expect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very obvious one there, but as I say, they did lose the game, the championship game. The CUSA is one of the few where they do finish top, get home field advantage. But yeah, away on the road, not so good. And you look at the rankings and you see why. Total, it's not too bad to be fair. Total offense 41st, nearly 410 yards per game. Total defense is 74th, which ain't a nightmare for a CUSA side at 380 yards per game. The scoring offense was 61st, again pretty good, just over 28 points per game. The scoring defense was 71st, just over 25 points per game. Here is where, right, three guesses as to what the problem was. The rushing offense, 5th nationally, 246.7 yards per game with 32 rushing touchdowns. Passing offense, 120th at 162 yards per game and 13 touchdowns. I don't think you're going to see a bigger disparity in the country anywhere between two facets of your offense as you do there. In terms of defense, the rushing defense is 63rd, 144 yards per game, 22 touchdowns. The passing defense is 95th, 234 yards per game with 19 touchdowns. In terms of the D-line, in sacks, they were 69th with 28, and tackles for loss, they were 63rd with 78, so not terrible. Sacks allowed, they were 59th with 24. Tackles for loss allowed, they were 120th with 89. But again, this is a team that love to run the ball a lot, and teams that love to run the ball a lot generally give up more tackles for loss because they rush it more. In turnover margin, though, they were pretty damn good. They were 13th. They gained 24 turnovers. They lost the ball just 14 times. Now, again, I say CUSA standards. I say that with all due respect, right? You look at these numbers, a lot of these are good for CUSA teams because they are some of the hardest to get in terms of ability and that there. They always usually finish pretty low. Those numbers are pretty good, but the disparity here, one thing really stands out. On the road, your rushing offense is good, but when you need quick drives, you need to pass the ball a little better, get it home through the air. They just were not able to do it, and that is ultimately what held them back last year. And for me, that's the one stat that really stands out there.
Yeah, like I say, it's hard to knock them on those stats because it works for them, and it's worked for them under two coaches. But it's obvious, like you say, where the issues are. Too many TFLs because you give the running back the ball too many times, and you just kind of leave him out there to dry on some plays where he's gobbled up. Whether that's you don't trust the quarterback, whether that's the scheme's not good enough, whether that's the weapons aren't good enough, but there's no way of knowing because you don't pass the ball. It's just purely an uneven balance of, like I say, just not forcing yourself to even attempt to pass more. Because all those attempted passes wouldn't immediately turn into sacks. You would have a lot less tackles for loss if you just gave yourself a few more passing attempts in a game. Does it work? Yes, 99% of the time. But that 1%, like I say, is why they lost the title. Because they're too predictable. They're one of the most predictable teams in all of football.
Yep. You're
Stopping
right.
them, like I say, is one thing. But like I say, when you know what a team is going to do, your chance of stopping them, like I say, goes up by like 0.5%. You've just got a better chance of knowing what to do.
Yeah, like even with spread offenses, a disparity of 105 places between your rushing and your passing offense is extreme. And it's not usually that bad. At least, generally, when you're a rushing offense the way you are, you've got to have a passing game to open it up a little bit. But that's where the issues were. But how does it stack up going into 2026? It is Charles Kelly's second year. What does he have to work with? And for all we've just talked about how the passing game was not good enough, they low-key maybe have one of the best quarterbacks in the conference, and he is just getting to his peak. Caden Creel, the redshirt junior, is a bit smaller. He's 6 foot and 200 pounds. He saw no action in his first 2 years, and he entered last year as a redshirt sophomore backup to Rutgers transfer Gavin Wilmslet, probably one of the worst Group of 5 quarterbacks we've seen, Power 5 quarterbacks we've seen in years. The team pulled Wilmslet in Game 5 against Southern Miss when they were playing terribly. We said they lost a lot of their non-con games. They didn't lose many games when they put Caden Creel in. He got his first start after the bye in week 7 against Sam Houston. He kept the job from that point onwards. He is a true dual threat, so he ended up throwing for 1,514 yards with a smidge over 61% completion percentage for 9 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. 2 of those were in his first game when he came in mid-game. So really, the numbers were quite something. And on the ground, he went for 1,152 yards at nearly 7 yards per carry with 7 rushing touchdowns. He had 8 fumbles as well, but again, first year starter. I mean, given last year was his first year as a starter, the numbers are very respectable. If he can take momentum into year 2 and clean up some aspects of his game with the added experience, his ceiling is best quarterback in the CUSA with that dual threat ability. And they've invested highly behind him as well. So you've got Jack Moran and Noah Lee, 2 of the highest rated commitments ever to the program. They've been secured in back-to-back recruiting cycles. So Jacksonville State thinking about now and the future. They've put a lot of emphasis on QB, but you look at his numbers, right? Caden Creel, you know, no wonder the team struggled early with Wilmsler in there. He's had to pick up the mess, and he did it pretty well, given all things considered. And you think if he makes an adjustment into year 2, and they start trusting him to throw it a bit more, this all of a sudden could become one of the most dangerous offenses in the conference.
Yeah, but it's no disrespect to Gavin, but I watched the early season games. He sucked. He held the team back. He forced them to run so much because he couldn't be trusted under centre. Like you say, he didn't look confident. The reads were poor. The accuracy wasn't there, and it stagnated the team. So yeah, to pull him was the exact right decision. And like I say, Creel, yeah, he offers a balance between both worlds. He can tuck it and run when he needs to do. He can escape the pocket. He can extend plays with his legs. Like I say, he's got a good running back kind of build. He tucks it, protects it well. But he's also fairly confident when it is time to drop back, progress for the reads, and help move the ball. He did bring a little bit of balance to an offense that is incredibly one-sided. And now giving him the job for the whole season, like I say, if he stays healthy, it's going to be very interesting to see what he can do with a full season under his belt. If they do get that balance a little bit right, a little bit more towards a bit more accurate passer, be a little bit more unpredictable, like I say, you don't know what's going to happen to line of scrimmage, then they probably can win. They should win the conference on paper. Like I say, so I'm intrigued to see what he's going to do this year.
Yeah, I am as well.
Expand the playbook for him a little bit more. Give him a little bit more option in the passing game. And then it's going to be very interesting to see how they move forward going in that sense. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see this offense next year. I don't want to see 30 carries for a running back every single week. Even if they're winning, I don't enjoy it.
And, you know, if you think you're intrigued about him, I think you're going to be even more intrigued when you see who's leading this offense this year. So they've had an offensive coordinator change. So it was Clint Trickett last year.
Clint Trickett was a very good quarterback in college.
He's been poached by Maryland to be their new OC. So he's a power quarterback now. So there's a new man in town, and you'll know him. So this is a promotion from within from tight ends coach. But he was once a very feared offensive coordinator. Taylor Housewright, the former Montana State Grizz OC. In 2021, the Grizz reached the FCS. Hang on, Montana State are the Bobcats, aren't they? I got that wrong. The Montana State Bobcats. But he was OC there in 2021 when they reached the FCS championship game. And in 2022, Housewright's offense was second in the nation in both rushing and scoring, so you have a rushing genius here now. He also started the development of future draft pick Tommy Mellott, so he's got history.
Like 6 foot and 200 pounds
with QBs. Exactly. He's got work to do in Alabama this year, though. So the Gamecocks are famous for their rushing offense, and question number 1 for Housewright is, who replaces their superstar Cam Cook, who was transferred away to West Virginia to rejoin Rich Rodriguez. And let's just say there was precious little in the room behind him. You had 2 players who just about managed 50 carries each. I don't know why I've classified him as big lad, Christian Lando. He's 6'1", 205 pounds. He might get the first shot. He had 200 yards last season. And you've got Andrew Paul, who is the short yardage back. He's their specialist short yardage back. They do have a proven 1,000-yard rusher at quarterback. But after them is a whole bunch of first and second year freshmen with precious little or no production thus far. So they've got to find a new running back one, but having a rushing quarterback helps that. 5 players hit 3 digits for receiving yards last year. 4 of them are gone. Thankfully for the Gamecocks, the one returner just happens to be their leading receiver. And listen to this, Ryan. He's ginormous. DeAndre Johnson is 6'8" and 220 pounds. He went last year for 724 yards and 6 touchdowns at over 24 yards per catch. I imagine putting some poor 5'10" slot corner on a 6'8", 220 pound outside wide receiver, but he's there for them. They coughed up some much needed reinforcements out the portal. They got the highly sought after Murray State slot receiver Darius Cannon. He's fresh off a 730 yard season. They pinched the hybrid receiver Ronell Johnson from their rivals Missouri State. He had a 500 yard season last year. It gives them a solid triumvirate to work around with new guys stepping up into the rotation. There's basically no production after that returning, but they've got a starting 3 there. The returning tight end productivity is basically non-existent. They lost Pearson Baldwin and Harrison Hamsley, both due to eligibility. That's 100% of receiving production gone, and they're returning just 5.6% of their blocking snaps from last year, which kind of shows you it's all gone. David Alpers III has transferred in from South Dakota State, but he was only minorly productive in 2024. Other than that, the room includes a converted quarterback, a converted receiver, and a couple of guys who've seen little playing time. So that tight end room is a bit of a concern for them, but they don't really use them. The offensive line needs a good bit of fixing up as well. You got the right tackle Reggie Jackson transferred to Boston College. The right guard Amari Grayson transferred to West Virginia, as did Cam Griffin, their versatile starter who played left tackle, left guard, and right tackle last year. So Rich Rod has kind of scavenged his old team for some players there. You do have the centre, Lucas Makovsky. He had a tremendous redshirt freshman season last year, so you've got an anchor for your line. You've got an excellent pass-protecting left guard in Adrian Gum. You've got a rotating left tackle in Lance Johnson. They've hit the portal as well. You've got the 6'8" left tackle Amari Aitchison from the Mercer Bears, who there's a lot of hype behind. You've got Murray State starting left tackle Cam Stansel. You've got Ryan Walker, who's a 2-year starting guard from North Alabama. And then you've got versatile lineman Britton Witt from the Virginia Military Institute. We never knock them because that is where Diego comes from. They've got 4 3-star recruits coming in the latest cycle as well. And Lance Johnson saw good time as a true freshman last year, so they throw these guys in early. So you've got an intriguing mix of experience and youth that you've got to sort out to the replacements for the departed players. But yeah, Taylor Housewright has a talent drain to deal with here. But again, the parts are there to have a successful season if he goes about it the right way, Ryan. I'm sure you've seen a lot of his offenses in the past. This could be a very good match here if he finds his running back one and gets that line sorted.
I mean, yeah, I suppose I think we're going to see a big shift this year. They've invested at wide receiver. They've lost blocking tight ends. They're replacing the running back mix. It tells me this is going to be after a team that's going to have to shift heavily. It's going to have to be a lot more balanced. They're not going to be able to rely on the run. I'd like to think maybe this will overall, in the grand scheme of things, probably make them better off. I think they will not run the ball anywhere as well as they did in recent years without Cook. Like I say, potential talent on the offensive line. You've got an offense, like you say, that, yeah, the Bobcats had the ball as well, incredibly well. They did a really good job, like I say, passing as well as running with Tommy a lot. So this seems to me that we're going to see a shift in their offense this year. I'm going to lean towards more balance, maybe a few more spread formations. So I'm intrigued to watch this offense now, how it's going to develop and, like I say, evolve from, like I say, the one-sided, like I say, how it's been in recent seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite looking forward to seeing what they do there. But Caden Creel has me intrigued, and we'll see what he can do. But fucking 6'8" outside wide receiver. That's nuts. You don't see guys that tall. That's basketball height, man. Like he's a cheat code. Defensively, we've got the defensive coordinator Brian Williams in his second season, and Charles Kelly made quite the splash hire here. He lured Brian Williams away from a defensive coordinator role at Maryland. He took an active power 4 defensive coordinator and took him down to the group of 5. The two know each other very well, which helped, but it was still a coup. He runs this aggressive hybrid system focused on creating turnovers and causing havoc through the blitz. Who does that remind you of in the league? And in just year 2, you can see the positive effect his arrival has had on recruitment, but again, he's got a lot of problems to solve this year. The team was middling in sacks and tackles for loss, but out of the 6 players who had 3 or more sacks last year, 5 of them are gone. All 3 players who had more than 20 QB pressures are gone. That is a lot to replace. So on the line, their star edge rusher Emmanuel Oyabedeo, he left for Florida. Their leading tackle Taylor Carter went to Vanderbilt. Their starting nose tackle Darrell Prater went to Illinois, and their edge 2 Isaac Walker ran out of eligibility. You've got Garen Stansby. He's a big guy, 6 foot 270. He's their run-stopping edge. He's back this year. They got Jacob Cruz, who saw good time in the rotation. They didn't do much in the portal. The only real edge arrival was Angel Toombs, who has not seen action in 3 years at Wisconsin. The real reinforcements are coming out of high school. They've got a class of 4 3-star players arriving, which is headlined by the much anticipated arrival of Tristan Lyles. Already at his young age, he's 6'1", 238 pounds, out of Central Phoenix City. He's the 4th highest rated recruit in school history, and you watch him play, and he already has a significant pass rush arsenal. He's very clever. Don't be surprised to see him contribute heavily this year for this team with Tristan Lyles. Curtis Perry and Jawan Campbell returned the most snaps at tackle. Perry had a decent first year after coming in from Virginia Tech. Campbell is an above average run defender, but again, they've raided the portal for help. They got a big addition in the form of Marquise Hood, the D-tackle from North Carolina A&T. He's coming off a 9-sack season from the CAA, but those A&T players are good on their lines. You've got Niadi. He's just been to the Division II championship game with the Hardin Bison. You got Marvin Stringfellow, who's come from Division II Concordia St. Paul. And they also got Andrew Rumpfin from UCF. He's 330 pounds, presumably to take a good look at filling that nose tackle position. So they've gone small school for some of these guys, but that's what the CUSA does. At odds with most of the other areas of the side, the linebacker room is in a very good position. So last year, the 6'2", 225-pound true freshman Max Sanders, he dominated in his first season. He had 90 tackles, 42 run stops, a forced fumble, 14 quarterback pressures as a true freshman, repaying Charles Kelly's faith in him. When he went on his recruiting trip to recruit him, Charles Kelly got stuck in a snowstorm and had to sleep in his truck on the way home, and he was stuck there for like a day and a half. So, Max Sanders repaying that faith in him there. You've got Walker Osteen, who led the team with 5 sacks, also had 3 interceptions, as well as nearly 80 tackles. And then they've got Miles Butler in from Division II Campbellsville. He's a young player, had a really good breakout season in Division 2 there. They got a huge win in the portal as well. They got in Citadel linebacker Mikey Rosa. He had 6 sacks, a forced fumble, a pick, and over 70 tackles last season. And again, another room that's getting 4 3-star recruits coming into the building. Headlined by Braden Matthews out of McEachern. He's the highest rated linebacker recruit in school history, period. Secondary lost some big playmakers, but managed to hold on to some as well. They lost their leading corner by snaps, Tyron Taylor, to eligibility, but they've got former UCF transfer Traquan Fagans, who was locked down last year. He gave up just 35% completions on over 40 targets and had a sub 5% missed tackle rate. You got Jaheim Jenkins, who had 5 PBUs in his first season after coming over from Eastern Michigan. They had a true freshman, RJ Rayner, who saw nearly 200 snaps as well. And they've gone hard in the portal again because it was the 95th ranked pass defense. They've got Vernon Woodward from Illinois. They got the 3-star true freshman from last year, Caden Cook from Cal. Jonathan Carr from Albany State. He's the statistical star from Division 2. Keon Turner's played 3 years at Fort Mays State. But the most intriguing arrival of all, they've got Division 3 All-American legend Doggett out of LaGrange. Legend by name, legend by nature. He's 6'1", 180 pounds. Could be a big, sneaky, under-the-radar prospect for them out of Division 3. And again, they also welcomed the highest-rated cornerback recruit in school history. You've got Radarian Jones coming from Gadsden County. And then your safeties. 2 of the 3 starting safeties are gone. Malcolm Jones left for Iowa State. Trevor Woods ran out of eligibility. But they held on to maybe their most valuable safety in Caleb Nix. He's a former Clemson transfer, exploded onto the scene in his first year. He gave up just 55% on his targets against. He came away with 4 interceptions. The NFL passer rating against him was 28.4. That is fucking elite. And they've gone back to the well. They've gone to Clemson again. They've got the former 4-star safety Rob Billings, the 4th. He had minimal opportunities there in the last 2 years, but they'll hope he settles just as quick as Nix did. They had a true freshman out of over 200 snaps last year with Mark Woods. And again, another class of 4 3-star players coming out of high school. So overall, the defense has lost a lot of production, but it's growing a reputation, Ryan, with its new head coach, new defensive coordinator coming from a Power 4 school. These recruits are hitting the ground running. They've got a ton of high school talent arriving on campus to help fill the depth. It's a lot to replace, but there's some incredibly gifted players on this team, and they've worked the portal very well.
Yeah, they've gone heavy on the portal. Like I say, that's a coach that's very experienced using every contact in the book. He's gone out there and got some good level of FPS. Like you say, going all the way down to D3, schools that you've never heard of. That's the depth of their scouting, and like I say, how much they watch film, looking on the internet, watching tape, watching Huddle, and they're given these chance. These kids a huge platform to try show themselves on that a lot of other schools would not even give a second chance. And like I say, if some of them hit, which some of them will do, you'll see huge returns on that investment, and you could see a big uptick at some positions this year. So one of the more interesting defenses to watch this year, because it's going to have a very big mix of experience and then complete unknown entities going forward.
Yeah, cookie to anyone in the chat who can tell me where LaGrange is. Do you know where LaGrange is? I have no idea.
Nope.
Nope, I don't. Cookie in the chat for anyone who can tell me where LaGrange is. I have no idea. But yeah, certainly hell of a good recruiting job there. Keep an eye, because they had true freshmen making big impacts this year. In terms of the schedule, how does it work? 6 home, 6 away. Ugly trip to the Fargo Dome in week 1 to play North Dakota State, but you've got home games against Eastern Kentucky and Georgia Southern, then you're away at Ohio. In terms of conference, you're at home to Middle Tennessee State, Florida International, Sam Houston, and Missouri State. So again, eminently winnable slate there. Your away fixtures are a little harder. You got champions Kennesaw State, but they'll want to get one over on them. You got New Mexico State, Western Kentucky, and Delaware. I mean, they could go 7-1 in the CUSA again with a slate that right. Kennesaw State may regress. Delaware might not be the same team. Like Western Kentucky's the one you look at and go, maybe, but that's your schedule that gives them a chance, and they've got some tough non-cons to get them ready for it.
Yeah, like I say, it's broken up nicely with the 2 byes. Like I say, it's quite evenly split, so there's a good rest period. Like I say, they've got home games coming off of before each bye, then they go on the road, so there's a bit of break. Like I say, they're not too much travelling, they're not stacking those away games, they've spread it out nicely. NDSU will be a good test for the new players. Ohio, that's a pretty good test as well for them both on the road. Do they expect to win out of them? They'll fancy their chances against Ohio. Like I say, NDSU might catch them a bit cold. So yeah, it's a good prep for, like I say, what should be an interesting, like I say, last 3 road games, they'll be big. New Mexico, Western Kentucky, and Delaware. That'll be where their title credentials really are tested, depending on how well they do in those contests.
Yeah, absolutely, they do. And the player to watch, as already mentioned, Max Sanders, 6'2" and 225 pounds as a true freshman last year. He stood out really well as a linebacker. Another good season. He's probably out of there to a much bigger team. And we down to our last two teams now. Contrapass and goes, wouldn't mind finding some value for the secondary. It is there to be found. Let me dive in again. And we start with the Kennesaw State Owls, established in 2015, one of the new teams. You can find them at the Fifth Third Stadium in Kennesaw, Georgia. In terms of rivalries, the university itself has a big rivalry with Mercer. It's more concentrated on basketball, as the football team's not been around long enough to develop an established rivalry yet. I mean, one of the biggest turnarounds in college football last year. In 2024, the last year of Brian Bohannon, they were 2-10 overall. They went 2-6 in the CUSA. Last year, 10-4 overall, 7-1 in the CUSA, and they were champions. Just for the record, their coach, Jerry Mack, 45, second season, another offensively minded coach, and like Willie Simmons, a pure rising star. He's been coaching since he was 24, so he's 45 and he's already got 2 decades of experience under his belt. He had a few stops that preceded his first head coach gig at NC Central in 2014. He won 3 MEAC championships in 3 years. He parlayed that success into jobs with Rice and then Tennessee, before getting a job with the Jacksonville Jaguars in the NFL as running back coach. But last year, Kennesaw State came calling, and he had the unenviable job of not only taking over a 2-win team, but as I mentioned, he replaced Brian Bohannon, who was the only head coach the team had ever known, and he had been shown the door after not having much of a chance to adapt to the FBS. They weren't having a good year, but they fired him very quickly after the move up, which was not the most popular call because he was all they'd ever known. But what happened next was nothing short of incredible. Had Kurt Signetti not won that natty with Indiana last year, this would have probably been a top candidate for greatest turnaround of a team of the year. The Owls wrecked Conference USA, going 7-1 in season, and then they went into the home of the defending champions, the only team who actually beat them in the regular season, Jacksonville State were, and they forcibly removed from that CUSA championship from the Gamecocks' hands, and they took it back to Kennesaw. I guess the only problem now, right, is how do you top that? The CUSA is now familiar with your game. They are going to be out for revenge, but nobody saw this coming. Out of all the teams who've made the jump up from the FCS to the CUSA in recent years, Kennesaw State look like they're the ones who were struggling to adapt. And then Jerry Mack comes in the building, and this shit's easy, yeah?
Yeah, like I say, their first season up was a proper shock to the system. Everyone thought, I mean, a lot of them, I thought straight away as well, I thought they weren't ready. I thought they shouldn't have spent all that money to come up. They wouldn't find their feet, and I felt validated and vindicated in the first season. And like I say, harsh to fire Bohannon, yeah. Maybe they thought, like you say, but I kind of get if he's not the man to take you to the next level, then you kind of want to cut ties early. It's harsh, but sometimes it's a bit of pill to swallow. And yeah, like I say, first season went pretty, but yeah, last season was pretty much a miracle. Everything that went right, like you say, everything they were struggling with the season before, yeah, and they came out hot, caught everyone cold, and like I say, they ran the table for the most part. Like I say, their schedule was very hard too. When we look at the teams they lost to, the caliber of team they were going up against, like I say, a real brave outfit, especially the non-cons, and they did incredibly well in them as well. Even in their losses, they really were a difficult team to play against last year. Like I say, they've set the bar incredibly high. It feels like almost impossible. There's no way they can match it this year, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's good to at least get there. Some coaches never get there, but I remember when they lost that first game to Jacksonville State when they were both unbeaten. I'm like, okay, all right, Cinderella story's over. Nope, it wasn't. They learnt, and it's very rare that teams get beaten twice by the same one in a year. They learn. In terms of the draft history, there's not much of one because they've only been around 11 years. They had no picks last year. They've only ever had one draft pick. 2023, the defensive end Travis Bell went 218 overall in round 7 to Chicago. The Lions have never drafted anyone from them. In terms of the wins, at home to Merrimack, Arkansas State, Middle Tennessee, Louisiana Tech, UTEP, and Missouri State. On the road to FIU, to New Mexico State, at Liberty in double overtime, and then they won away at Jacksonville State in the CUSA Championship game. And then look who they lost to. They lost to Wake Forest on the road by a score of 10-9. Nearly won that. They got absolutely blown out by Indiana, but who didn't? They lost the first game on the road to Jacksonville State. There is no shame on that. And they lost to Western Michigan in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. But I don't think they're going to care about a beach bowl when they've won the CUSA Championship there. That is some seriously good wins for them there. And I remember that first game against Wake Forest. They probably should have won that. That was a very attritional game, let's say, wasn't it? It wasn't pretty, but it was close. But let's look at the stats. What did they do right last year, and what could they improve on? Because the scary thing is, this team could improve a lot. So, total offense, they were a top 50 offense in the nation at 49th, over 400 yards per game. Total defense, they were 101st, giving up over 404 yards per game. In scoring offense, they were 74th with 26.7 points per game. In scoring defense, they were 73rd, giving up 25.5 points per game. So a weird correlation. Their scoring offense was a lot worse than their total offense, but their scoring defense was a lot better than their total defense. So they kind of merged together to create this really weird tandem in the end. Despite there being over 50 positions total-wise, they were pretty much bang average on their scoring there. The rushing offense was 66th, 159 yards per game, 20 touchdowns. The passing offense was 51st at 243 yards per game and 26 touchdowns. So about one of the most balanced offenses you could ask for. The rushing defense was 113th, giving up 185 yards per game and 25 touchdowns. That's kind of where it came apart a bit. Passing defense was 67th at 220 yards per game and 19 touchdowns. In terms of their defensive line, sacks, they were 52nd with 31. Tackles for loss, they were 22nd with 90. Sacks allowed, they were 82nd with 27, and tackles for loss allowed, they were 92nd with 80. And then turnover margin, they were 95th, so they gained 15, but they lost 19, so it was a -4 turnover differential. So, you know, everything tells a story, right? The story is this team won a championship, and their defense can be better, their rushing defense can be better, and you turn that turnover margin around. Like, this is potentially just the beginning of what could become a very scary team. Like, it's scary they won a championship and there are such deficiencies in there. It just shows how well they played overall.
Yeah, it's odd. They overcame themselves because, like you say, shouldn't be winning a conference with a -4 turnover margin and only scoring 26 points per game. But they managed to find a way to do it. They get lots of yards, but they didn't score a lot of points. They gave up loads of yards, but they didn't give up that many points. They're a very frugal team. Like I say, they march up and down the field, but in the red zone on offense, not very good. Like I say, they gave up huge players constantly, but in the red zone, their defense, it knuckled down. Like I say, and Conference USA, because so many teams run the ball, 90 tackles for loss. They gave them so many opportunities to rack up those negative players, and they gobbled them up. That defense was hungry, and it took opportunities against teams that are so one-dimensional. And that's why ultimately they turned the game round in the championship. Like I say, those tackles for loss, those negative players, they stopped a one-dimensional run team that hurt them earlier in the season. They learned their lessons, and they punished them. So like I say, this team just proves, like I say, because those stats, they ain't very good, but stats don't win games. We don't play games on paper, do we? So their situational football is incredibly good, and they're very well coached, which allows them to overcome some of these pretty poor rankings in some major categories.
Oh, it reminds me of, oh Lord, I think we did one of these a couple of years ago, and there was, I think it was the Sunbelt winner at the time, just completely defied. Like, they were not even top 80 in most metrics and they won a championship. It's just so weird sometimes how these things work. But again, given where they come from, a 2-win team, you'd accept this quite happily, and obviously a championship game you would accept. But like everyone else, it is a new year, it is a new start, and everything is a new day. So how is 2026 gonna feature for them? So at quarterback, we have a possible open battle here, and this mile marker, if you're watching, is where things pay off. So Kennesaw State will have a new starter this season regardless. So we have essentially had an incredibly rare occurrence of the quarterback trade in college football, in that coincidentally quarterbacks went in the opposite directions between teams. So last year it was Wofford transfer Amari Odom. He supplanted Dexter Williams early on. Again, like Dexter Williams, a dreadful power quarterback who tried to drag down this team. He went on to lead the Owls to the CUSA Championship, and that came with admirers, and Syracuse won that battle as they look to answer years of horrific quarterback crises on that team. Coming back in the other direction is Ricky Collins, 6'2", 210 pounds, former LSU transfer. After Steve Angeli went down injured last year, he got his first shot as a starter, but it was a terrible team. The odds were always against him. He went 53% on 181 pass attempts, had 1,032 yards with 6 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, and did not win a game. He has some dual threat ability with 240 yards and a rushing touchdown. That being said, this is a younger quarterback. He does have Power 4 experience, and he has the potential to thrive in a Group of 5 conference. Hang on. That's on. However, another transfer very much has their eyes on this job. And why is this intriguing, you ask? Junior quarterback Landon Vaughns. Now, does that name sound familiar? For regular listeners of our show, and this is where it pays off to listen to us all those years, it does. Last year, I think it was Mile Marker, asked us for a list of quarterback prospects down in JUCO to put a spotlight on who might make the move up to the FBS. And I have it here with me. We had a list of 5. Donnie Smith from Snow CC, Ty Keys from East Mississippi, Samari Collier from Hutchinson, Chip Cooper from Georgia Military, and at number 1, Landon Vaughns from Mississippi Gulf Coast CC. He is now here, just like we said he would be. He is a statistical superstar coming out of JUCO. In his 2 years at Mississippi Gulf Coast, he's thrown for nearly 6,000 yards and 60 touchdowns, and he started there as a freshman, so he's still got 2 years left. He is a prototype pocket passer who can hit every inch of a football field. Make no mistake, Ricky Collins has a battle on his hands for this job. It's not easy losing your starter ride, but they do have a guy with Power 4 experience, and they have a JUCO star here. This is, I would say, a positive quarterback battle. You would figure these two are going to push one another hard, and the winner is going to really want to take their chance in this one.
Yeah, got some interesting options. You've got 2 styles. Like you say, you've got a guy that offers a bit of dual threat. You've got a guy that wants to be a solid pocket passer, stand and deliver, can make all the throws. One's got no experience at this level, but he's hungry to learn, has, like I say, flourished at lower levels. The other one is, like I say, a bit older, got a bit more experience, but has struggled in his starts now and wants to look to shake those off and bounce back. So which one do you give the keys to? Do you like to see you got the redemption story like Richie, or do you go with the maverick wild card of the young up and comers here? It's going to be a bold decision. I expect to see both this year. Like I say, there'll be no way one of these plays all year. It's be depending on who you're playing. Like I say, different packages, but yeah, ultimately one of them will have to take over the job. But it's going to be very interesting to see how they manage 2 QBs that are quite different.
I've just had a ding in my ears, which means someone has subscribed or something. So I will come to that in a minute. I will just go through this one and then I'll come back. So thank you to whoever has contributed to the channel. We appreciate you. But yeah, open battle, but in a positive way. How does the rest of the team stand? On offense, you have the offensive coordinator, Mitch Militello, who is here in his 2nd season. Militello is a disciple of Josh Hoople, which means, Ryan, what sort of offense do you reckon he runs?
Likes the deep ball.
There we go. He likes the veer and shoot style offense. Jerry Mack knows him well. He was a running back coach at Tennessee when Militello was an analyst there. Militello himself, he is known for his quarterback work, which tracks as he turned Odom from a Wofford transfer into a CUSA All-American and Championship game MVP in less than a season. He turned an Owls offense that in 2024 was bottom of the CUSA with 18.6 points per game into the highest scoring unit in the league at 34.5 points per game. He nearly doubled their points per game in one season. But there are losses here. As well as being an All-American quarterback, Odom led the team in rushing touchdowns with 7. Their leading rusher by yards, Coleman Bennett, is now in the NFL with the Bears, and their other 500-yard rusher, Chase Belcher, ran out of eligibility. And the other 3 players who had double-digit rushing yards, all gone. In other words, I think it was about 97% of their rushing production is gone and needs replacing. And don't say Jerry Mack doesn't know how to scout. They have scouted the smaller schools heavily here. So Lander Vaughns did not come alone from Mississippi Gulf. His best friend at running back, Boogie Woods, has come along. So he's coming off the back of a 1,000-yard all-purpose season. He's a returner as well, a legitimate pass-catching threat out the backfield. You've got Latrell Murrell, who has come from part of that fearsome West Georgia Wolves offense the last couple of years. He was an all-UAC selection after a 900-yard season last year with 5 games of 100-plus yards. You've got Tristan Morgan, who is a Division II star from Benedict, who had nearly a 1,000-yard season in 2025. And add into the mix, Selly Davis. He's 6 foot, 196 pounds. He is a true freshman coming out of Houston High School. He is the second highest rated recruit in Owls history. He is their highest rated running back recruit of all time, and he is apparently making waves. The receiver department has been just as badly gutted as the back room. Their star receiver Gabriel Benyard is now in the NFL with Buffalo. Their starting ex-receiver Christian Moss transferred to Washington. Their breakout true freshman Clayton Kopak was snapped up by Coastal Carolina, and their rotational guy Lyndon Ravare went to New Mexico State. That leaves the deep threat Javon Rogers and the hybrid Davis Bryson as the only returners who hit 3 figures last year, and both only had 9 receptions. But Javon Rogers, to his credit, was going at over 26 yards per catch as a viable deep threat. He had nearly 300 yards on 9 catches, which is pretty damn good, but the Portals had to do the lifting again. They got leading Tulsa receiver Zion Booker. He's had back-to-back good years with the Golden Hurricanes and Western Carolina. You got Dylan Gary, who's coming from Georgia Southern. Didn't see much there, but it's the smaller schools he's gone to. He's got Braden Monroe in from Northern Colorado, who's a 6'3 vertical threat. He went for over 700 yards last season. You've got Keon Davis, who's a budding Division II star from Virginia Union. Went nearly 600 yards last year. But the prize get true freshman star Devon Slaughter from the Tennessee State Tigers. He had 55 catches for 550 yards and 3 touchdowns in his true freshman season. They do have a few homegrown options to check out, and they do have their highest rated receiver prospect of all time arriving. He's called Jeremiah Tabb. He's already built out at 6'2", 200 pounds, and he's just coming out of high school. I don't know what they feed him, but it is something chronic. The tight end room was spared from the onslaught. Their starter, Gerard Bullock, is back. He's a second-year transfer from Tennessee State. And then they got a load of homegrown recruits in the room to flesh that out. The offensive line did not escape the purge. The entire interior is gone. Left guard Brandon Best went to East Carolina. The center, Josiah Chenault, went to Sam Houston. And the right guard, JT Pennington, ran out of eligibility. Both tackles are back. The left tackle, Jadarius Lee, has been a 3-year starter, but at Florida International and Kennesaw State, he's been incredibly poor, so he ain't the best one. The right tackle Nikola Milovac, he started for the first time last year and did well in the circumstances, so that's one positive piece they have to build around. And once again, the Portals had to do the work. They pulled off an in-conference they got Middle Tennessee State starting 2-year center Mateo Guevara, who's really good. They got Tennessee State starting left guard Darius Neals, Central Connecticut State's guard Precious Ikea. He's got starting seasons at both guard spots, and they got versatile chess piece Luke Duska from Elon, who has played all positions outside of center, and they've invested very heavily in high school recruits the last 2 years, so maybe some of the youngsters will get in. But overall, this is an offense that's going to look entirely different year with the sheer amount of loss, although given the circumstances the staff have done, they've given themselves a chance to offset the losses quickly. But I mean, what a job he did last year. Militello, right, doubled it up, but you've got a new quarterback coming in, and you've got to replace a lot, and you have really dug deep in the portal there. It could be a masterstroke, but there's going to be a lot of time to adapt this year.
Yeah, new interior of offensive line. A big question mark right now about which offensive way they want to go. The quarterback. They brought in some really interesting lower, like say, level weapons. They've gone with the JUCO route. It's going to be interesting to see how all that production that's gone, and rightly so, like I say, a lot of them gone to NFL, they've gone to, like say, Power 4 schools, how they do a job of trying to replicate some of that in such a short period. So yeah, natural drop off, but how quickly these gel. Like I say, it's going to be very interesting to see how they manage to maintain, like I say, the consistency they found last year.
Indeed, it's going to be a job there. On the flip side, on the defense, this is a name you might know because you like your EFL. Defensive coordinator Mark Mattioli. It's his second season. Mac went overseas to find his DC. He was head coach at the Paris Musketeers. Are they in the European League of Football? Is it Paris Musketeers?
That's closed now, but they're in the FLE now.
All right.
Football League of Europe, but yeah, he was there for like all their years in the EFL.
Yeah. Mark Mattioli was he did
very good. They were very good as well.
Yeah, he did. And as first years went, he didn't do too bad. So he had the third best defensive unit in the CUSA, and it led the conference in sacks. And thankfully for Mattioli, he's getting a bit more returning production than Militello is, but that doesn't mean he's free from problems. On the line, their true freshman star Elijah Hill, who we highlighted early last year, he was poached by Kansas State. He had a breakout 11-sack season, and he was only a rotational guy. But that's a big get for Kansas State. Their starter Rod Daniels ran out of eligibility, but the edge room is healthy. The former South Carolina transfer Donovan Westmoreland had 7 sacks last year, and he didn't miss a single tackle, and he had about 35. That's such a rarity for an edge. Marcus Patterson had over 30 quarterback pressures and 3 sacks in his first season since coming in from Western Kentucky. They've added in Corey Kelly from Baylor, who's seen some time at the Power 4. They got Wingate legend Kai Russell. This is going to be his only shot at the FBS level, but statistically, he's been great for Wingate there. And they've got some homegrown guys coming in as well. I think their highest rated recruit ever, I forget his name, has come in the edge room this year. At tackle, they've lost both their starting tackles due to eligibility, but they've got Jaden Grimes and Jackson Cooper, who were homegrown options, who were the rotation guys last year, so you would expect them to make the move up. And they've made some smart portal moves, to be fair. They got Devin Morgan from Buffalo. He's fresh off a 5-sack season, so he's a pass-rushing defensive tackle. And they got Arkansas Pine Bluff starting nose tackle Jaden Crawford to add some big beef to that interior and help improve that run defense. Linebackers, they've probably got one of the conference best starting pairs, maybe outside of Jacksonville State. You've got Barron Hobson. He's the center of this world. He's a fantastic run defender, leads this team by example, and he's got redshirt freshman Tywan Crawford with him, who broke out last year. Again, another excellent run defender. He had a few turnovers into the mix as well, couple of picks, couple of forced fumbles. They've added Towson's Alfred Thomas into the mix. Another good run defender, but he's a blitz threat. He had 4 sacks last year, and K-State didn't really have a blitzing linebacker last year, so that addresses a big need for them. They got Jakari Bryson, who's a 2-year starter for Gardner-Webb. They've got Josh Anglin, who's a starter for North Alabama. So again, they've raided the FCS for a lot of their talent there. The secondary's been hit harder compared to the rest. Cornerback Jericho Washington, their standout, has gone to Boise State. He had 11 pass breakups and 3 forced fumbles last year. The other primary starter, Caleb Offord, out of eligibility. Their primary backup, 5 Hamilton, went to Arkansas State. So yeah, they've lost a lot of their snaps there. They did have a young true freshman in Tavion Lawson who dipped his toe into the pool, but there's not a lot of production coming back. They did poach Miami of Ohio starter Luke Evans. Well, he has been a starter for them. He didn't play much last year. They got Jalen Hudson and Perry Fisher from UAB, who've played a little bit as well. But this might be where the youngsters come in. Pike Road High School prospect Jordan Holmes. He's the highest rated quarterback recruit in team history. No player on the team had more than one pick last year, so they may give the kids an opportunity to come in and play early. They need to find some ball players. They lost a couple of their safeties to eligibility as well. They've got 2-year starter Isaac Paul. They've got second-year Michigan transfer Cody Jones, who hit the ground running last year. They've added a lot of bodies from the portal, but not really any with any starting experience. So this is going to be a very much new secondary here. But again, they had no one who had more than one interception last year. It was an issue for them that they need to fix. So again, right, a lot of guys gone. Maybe positively it's eligibility and not the portal, which shows these guys want to stay. But again, a lot of productivity to replace, but they've really scoured the FCS as well. That's what a lot of these teams have to do, right? Get the best talent from the next level and hope they hit.
Yep, like you say, I think they're more blessed, like you say, with like guys like Westmoreland that I watched last year was very productive. They brought guys in last year that they knew would be able to come in pretty quickly and make an impact if they do leave anyone. So they've got some leaders at key positions going forward. So it'd be interesting to see how well they do this year. As you say, linebacker, fairly set, interior of the front, like you say, they've brought in some new bodies. Secondary, like I say, it's going to be a chance to bring up a lot of kids, guys that have got a chance that have not had any starting experience yet, to give them their first real taste of proper football going forward. So it'd be interesting to see how quickly the inexperienced guys in the secondary do, how well they hold their own. Like I say, those veterans can help them and give them a bit of experience here. It's going to be a new look back end next year, and you will take the rough with the smooth. Like I say, there will be some issues in the early days with, like I say, a whole new young secondary. But yeah, if you can keep these around for the next couple of years, then yeah, they'll start to build, like I say, and gel and become a proper unit again. So yeah, there's definitely potential for a lot of them.
All right, yeah, certainly a lot they're going to have to do there. Lisa answered
the not too bad, which does help them.
It does. I'll go through the schedule in a quick moment. I'm just going through the chat first. Lisa says LaGrange is in California, but LaGrange College is in Georgia. So LaGrange College, Georgia. LaGrange itself is in Cal. That is, can't you all have names? Like they've got like the same name town in every damn state. It's so confusing. But hey ho. And a shout out to Tyrod, who subscribed to the channel 17 minutes ago. Appreciate you and appreciate everyone who is listening to us. Let's quickly get this because we've been going a while. We've got one team left, but the schedule. I don't know why I've not done these either. So they're non-cons at home to West Georgia and Georgia State, and then they're away at Tennessee and away at Arkansas State. So it's not too bad. Some good challenges there for them. Then you got the bye. The home schedule, Jacksonville State, Liberty, Delaware, and Florida International. The away slate is Missouri State, Middle Tennessee State, Sam Houston, and Western Kentucky. And, I mean, that home slate, FIU don't travel well, Delaware don't travel well, Liberty... I mean, Jacksonville State's the big one. I think if you get through them first 3 games, away at Missouri State, at home to Liberty and Jacksonville, you win 2 of those, that middle and end portion is eminently winnable, Rye.
Even Arkansas State, to be fair, that's not that hard. They've lost a lot.
Hey, no Butch Jones slander on here.
That's a game that's winnable. Like say Tennessee, you'll go take your licks. Like say early bye, like say Jacksonville State out the bye. Like you say, but yeah, I mean the home games we've seen those teams don't travel all well. Like you say, and then you've got some definitely like Sam Houston, like say Middle Tennessee State. You've got some away trips where you should be winning those. Yeah, the start of the season, like you say, if you can go 2-0, like you say. And then, like you say, if you could split it at the bye and then you come out in a good position, like you say, it'd be interesting to see how they do, especially, like I say, on the road.
It would indeed. And the player to watch, as I mentioned, the wide receiver Devon Slaughter, the Tennessee State transfer, he is young, he is hungry. Expect him to make a big impact on this team this year if they can figure out the quarterback situation correctly. And then to finish it off, we've been talking about some promising teams, some good
One or
teams,
two that
but
regressed last year, really.
yeah, this is a dynasty that is in trouble. We have the Liberty Flames, established in 1973. You can find them at the Williams Stadium in Lynchburg, Virginia. Rivalries with Coastal Carolina. This spawns back to their time in the Big South. Fought over conference titles for years. And then, obviously, both teams came up to the FBS. And things didn't improve when Liberty poached head coach Jamie Chadwell from them after the 2022 season, which made things even more sour. And they've also got a rivalry with James Madison. The Battle of the Blue Ridge had been on hold for some time, but they've renewed it last year after a period on hold for the next decade. But Liberty have only won one of the last 8 contests dating back to 1992, so the Dukes have a hold on the Flames. In terms of the recent records, 24, they went 8-4 overall, 5-3 in the CUSA. Last year they went 4-8, and they went 3-5 in the CUSA. This has been the year before they went 13-1 and won the CUSA championship and lost only to Oregon last year. This has been a slide, and how fortunes can change. The coach, Ryan, Jamie Chadwell, 49, it is his 4th season, an offensively minded coach, as we know. This man has been a winner nearly every place he's ever been. 35 wins and back-to-back Big South titles at Charleston Southern, 39 wins and 2 Sunbelt East titles at Coastal Carolina, where he also founded one of the nation's deadliest offenses with Grayson McCall at its helm, and an opening 13-win season and CUSA championship with the Flames. This unique version of the spread offense that he runs with these flex bone and option principles, it's just been such a hard proposition for opposing defensive coordinators to find an answer to. But how quickly tides change. So they were sitting with a CUSA championship in hand. They started year 2 of his reign 5-0. And then one of the most shocking losses of the 2024 season when Kennesaw State, 2-win Kennesaw State that year, upset the Flames, and it seemed to break something in them. They lost 4 of their last 7, and they missed the championship game. And then they followed it up with the worst season in over 20 years. They started off 1-4 with a solitary win coming over Maine, and it was only like 28-7. They did run off 3 straight wins, but then they went on to lose the last 4, and tellingly, 3 of those were in overtime, back to back to back, showing a team that is mentally a little fragile. I mean, the portal has been particularly brutal to Liberty year in and year out, even by group of 5 standards where everyone suffers. The first year Chadwell got the job when he won the CUSA, I think he returned 8 of 22 starters from the past year, and it's gotten even worse ever since. But Ethan Vasco didn't get the job done at quarterback last year. They've had a couple of off-the-field issues, although nothing major. But this is a program that's once synonymous with winning has hit hard times. And year 4 for Jamie Chadwell, Rye, this is going to be one of the toughest he's faced in a long time. It just goes to show he was once a darling, and how quickly it changes. He's now got to deliver. But you do get the feeling that if anyone can turn it around, he can. But a couple of bad years really changes things at college football. You're only as good as your last year.
Yeah, like you say, I think all those good seasons for Liberty caught up with them. Like you say, the 2 big players you lost, Kane Salter, and you lost their running back Cooley, and
Yeah.
they were kind of the heart of the team. They balanced the offense. They were 2 players that, like you say, carried that team on its shoulders. And like you say, losing them both, like you say, Vasco was supposed to come in with, like you say, a bit of a reputation. He definitely disappointed. They underwhelmed very well. They struggled in most facets of the game. They looked like a team that was a bit lost. Like you say, it felt a bit sorry for itself. Like you say, not great. Like you say, fans, coaches, like you say, there was a bit of sour taste in the mouth. Like you say, people said things. Like you say, a team that's got such high standards fell so far below their bar. It felt like a program that had lost its way a bit. But yeah, I agree that with you. If anyone can turn it around, it's him. Like you say, he just needs to be given time. But time is of the essence, and time is not a thing anybody is gifted in college football anymore. It doesn't matter how good you've been in the past. Like you say, if he doesn't turn it around quickly, then heads will roll. And like I say, unfortunately, it will be his. Yeah, he is on an ever warming seat.
And there's been changes in his staff, which we'll go through a minute, which is a shock because they've been together forever. But the draft history for the Flames, no picks in this year's draft. The last pick was 2023. The wide receiver Demario Douglas was taken in round 6 by the Patriots. The Lions have never drafted a player from Liberty. The results last year: wins at home against Maine, New Mexico State, and Delaware, and then a single road win against UTEP. The losses at Jacksonville State, at Bowling Green versus James Madison in the Battle of the Blue Ridge, at Old Dominion versus Missouri State, at FIU in overtime, at Louisiana Tech in overtime, versus Kennesaw State in double overtime. Just not a lot of mental fortitude to this team. And let's see where it went wrong for them. And there's some noticeable things here, especially when you think about Liberty teams of the past. I mean, balance-wise, they weren't too far from one another. Total offense, 67th. Total defense, 69th. And again, with no disrespect to the CUSA, if you've got top 70 units in both offense and defense, you really should be challenging for a championship game, not winning 4 games, but 390 yards per game on offense, 375 given up on defense, both respectable. The scoring offense was 82nd, 25.6 points per game. Scoring defense was 76th, 26.5 points per game. The rushing offense was 26th. They've not gone away from that. Nearly 200 yards per game and 25 touchdowns, but the passing offense 99th. Less than 200 yards a game and just 11 passing touchdowns. The Russian defense was 107th, gave up 180 yards per game and 23 touchdowns. Passing defense was 36th, gave up 196 yards per game and 17 touchdowns. But when the balls ran on you so much, teams don't need to pass it on you, so generally passing defense is better for teams with bad rushing defense. These are the bad ones. Sacks, they were 118th with just 16. Tackles for loss, they were 124th with just 48 tackles for loss all year. In terms of the O-line, sacks allowed, they were 88th with 25. Tackles for loss allowed, 51st with 60. And turnover margin, they were 112th. They gained 14. They lost 21. There's a lot to dissect there, but immediately, when you think of Liberty, you think defensive line monster. You think of all those guys they've had in recent years, and you are ranking 118th and less in sacks and tackles for loss. That defensive line, which won them championships, has gone, and that's why they're struggling.
Yeah. The havoc rate is non-existent. It's one of the worst in the country. And when an offense knows that you can't penetrate them, get in the backfield, that QB, like you say, got all the time in the world, really, to just dissect you and pick you off, like you say. So their passing defense, surprisingly, was very good. To say they were so bad at getting to the quarterback, that says a lot about the standard of QB play against them. Very lucky, but yeah, that's a huge issue. Like you say, lack of negative plays, lack of getting the ball back, inability to generate turnovers. Only got 14 turnovers. That's because they can't get tackles for loss. There's no forced fumbles. Like I said, there's no sacks. Like I said, that puts so much pressure on your offense when you know your defense cannot get you the ball back like that. And then the offense was okay. It was passing middle at road, yards middle at road, good rushing offense, passing offense, not good. Like I said, 200 yards, but just 11 passing touchdowns on the year. That's bad. Yeah. So there's some key metrics, like I say. Quarterback play is bad, and the play of the outside linebackers and the defensive line, like you say, it's 2 units that basically shot this team in the foot last year.
Yeah, it's not Liberty football. Like, they used to be top 10 in the nation in sacks and tackles for loss. You think of the amount of talent they had there, and it's gone. And obviously, after you've had Caden Salter and you've got to replace him, that is not easy either. So how do things look going into a crucial 2026? And it doesn't start well. Quarterback is an open battle. Now, the play has been one of the reasons Liberty has looked vulnerable of late. Ethan Vasco did not look it last year. He's been dealing with injury issues, which have carried on to this year. He's missed spring practice. He threw just shy of 2,000 yards, but 10 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, and he had 5 fumbles as a runner. That's way too many turnovers and not enough end productivity. Liberty have brought in competition for him. Jalen Henderson saw time as a starter at TAMU in 2023, but he's not seen any real playing time since. But he does bring that Power 4 experience with him. Deshaun Purdy saw time as a starter in Charlotte 2 years ago. He got some game time at Wake Forest last season, but again, it's been a while since he played regularly. This is a quarterback battle, right? Might be one of the last in the country to be decided, but their incumbent starter and the guys they've brought in, it doesn't exactly scream this is going to be amazing to you. These are guys who've not started in a while, and one who can't find his rhythm. This is going to be critical here, but on the face of it, it's not the best. It's maybe one of the worst QB battles we've seen so far, or one of the worst QB situations we've seen.
Yeah. I mean, Deshaun Purdy, do you know what? At least he's got some actual experience, like it says, played recently. I mean, you'd pencil him in as probably the favourite, but the whole room doesn't exactly fill you with confidence for a head coach that is probably fighting for his job. It screams of another one where we see at least 2 of them play this year, because one of them will have a rotten game and they'll be forced to bench and bring another one in. So, yeah, it'll be decided for the start of the year, but that'll be quickly undone when, like you say, things don't go well. We're probably going to see all 3 of them at some point this year, and that's like worst case scenario.
Yeah, it is. It's not ideal whatsoever. So how is offensive coordinator Newland Isaac coming into his 4th season going to deal with this? So, as I said, the coaching staff looks different. So Chadwell's had his staff with him forever, going back to his North Greenville days in the noughties. I mean, Chadwell's obviously always heavily invested in the offense because he's an offensive guy, but he's had Newland Isaac and Willie Korn running his offense as co-offensive coordinators for a long time. This relationship spans forever. Korn has retired, and he's very young. He's retired as well. So now Isaac goes it alone with a lot of input from the head coach. But the fact is, the relationship works. It always has, likely always will. It was still a good offense last year despite the troubles. He's got to sort out the QB, but that's not the only question. So their star running back, Evan Dickens, 16 rushing touchdowns last year. He's gone away to Boston College, but Liberty never ignores its rushing attack. It's what it's made of, and I mean, Christ, this list of guys they've brought in to replace him, starting with Kanye Udo, the former Army sensation. He arrives via the portal from Arizona State, and honestly, if we get Army Kanye Udo back, he could pull the CUSA to shreds on his own. You've got Peyton Jones and Cam Davis, both have Power 4 experience at Duke and Florida State respectively. Justin Marshall has nearly 1,500 rushing yards as a Colorado State Ram. Teron Kelman had 4 rushing touchdowns for Wyoming last year. And they've got their 4-star recruit from last year, Jalen Coleman. He came as a receiver. They've converted him to running back. He is ready to go. This room is stacked to the rafters, and it has a bona fide star in Udo leading it. So I don't think they're going to have any problem running it. Just like at running back, the Flames' leading receiver is gone. Dante Lee Jr. took the money and ran to Texas Tech. Jamari Person is the only receiver to return more than 200 yards of production from last season. Again, they had to go to the portal. They got Indiana transfer Mekhi Jackson. He didn't play really at all for the Hoosiers last year in that stacked room, but in his previous stops at St. Francis and Appalachian State, he has 2,100 receiving yards in college and 16 touchdowns. They got the 6'2", 205-pound redshirt freshman Rashawn Cunningham from Charleston Southern. He broke out last year, 628 yards and 7 touchdowns. And they got Rufino Van Gates. He comes from North Carolina Central. He had 3 touchdowns and a clutch of yards last year. And they've got some good high school prospects to work around. So the portal's done a good job replacing the losses. They've lost their lead tight end, Jacob Jenkins. They do have their blocking tight end, Caleb Ryan, coming back. They got LaKelsey Johnson from Baylor, who's also a career blocking tight end. They got a couple of other guys as well, but they're all blockers. They don't actually have any real receiving options in the tight end room right now, which could be a problem. However, for all the issues they have, They returned 4 starters on their offensive line, and whilst on paper it wasn't the best last year, of the 4 coming back, only centre Aaron Fenimore had played a full starting season at this level. So now you've got the left tackle DJ Geff, the left guard Jope Engers, the right tackle Christian Williams, and Fenimore. They've all got multi-years as starters now. This is probably going to be a more cohesive and experienced unit this year, which does not bode well for the CUSA. And to fill in that right guard slot, they've brought in Alex Birchmeyer from Penn State. He's played at right guard for Penn State. He's 6'5", he's huge. They also got in Val Erickson, who's played for NC State the last couple of years, although he's been rubbish, so you know what. They got Kevin Avehi, he was the starting left tackle for St. Francis, and they got the freshman Jude Foster from Ole Miss. So the skill positions, right, they're going to have some new leaders, and you've got a QB situation needs sorting. But when you've got that potential dominant O-line, and you've got a running back room led by Kanye Udo, they will be dangerous this year.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious what they want to do. They don't trust their quarterback situation. So you go out and get Florida State, Duke, Army, transfer running backs, like you say, that all bring in a couple of thousand all-purpose yards, like you say, and you're going to have probably a serious committee, like I say, of all-purpose yard backs that are going to look to lead from the front. Offensive line struggled last year, but it's never a bad thing bringing back most of them. It's the first one we've heard of like returning kind of all the guys. Like I say, if you give them some dynamic backs, like I say, yeah. So this team could win without a credible starter under centre in QB. If, like you say, yeah, that running back, like you say, one of them emerges, takes the lead, like you say, then they could get back to some physical, serious north and south style of play. And then, like you say, just chip in quarterback, like you say, just take their chances, protect the ball. Feels very much the direction they're going in this year.
Yeah, Udo could be the leading rusher in the nation if that O-line's good. Like, he really could. People, like,
Bad move
obviously...
to ASU behind Rillick Brown and Kyron Brown. He just couldn't crack the... They just had the rotation.
No, it wasn't that he was bad. It was just he hit a stacked room.
Yeah.
And, you know...
Short yardage. So now, like you say, you'll probably see him again get 150, 100 carries that he didn't get there.
Yeah, and he's done it in the option. He's the toughest of the tough. So I think low-key, early season hot take, he could be the leading rusher in the nation next year for sure. And then finishing it off with last defense. And this is where the changes happened. So they got a new defensive coordinator, Sean Quinn. So just like on offense, Chadwell has had his same generals for years, but he's made a change. Skylar McGee and his Red Smoke defense have overseen that defensive coordinator position for Chadwell going back to the noughties. It is a long time. He's demoted him to D-line coach, which is serious because he's a coach who's been with him everywhere. So they've gone to Virginia Tech. They've got the outside linebackers coach Sean Quinn to try and fix a broken pass rush and run defense. So Quinn's worked with Brent Pry for years. He likes to run those aggressive multiple front defenses, but Quinn does his tight coverage. So you got the 3 in the middle, you force it out east-west. It's specifically used to combat spread offenses, and the CUSA has quite a lot of teams that run the spread offense. So this very much feels like Chadwell's seen where the team is weak and he wants to try and adapt to it, but the defensive line needs a makeover. Flames D-lines do not finish 120th or lower nationally, and they need to be back amongst the best again. They've lost CJ Bazile to eligibility. Elijah Hall left for UAB. They were the only 2 players on the team who had 4 or more sacks. They do bring back their leading quarterback pressure guy, Brenton Williams. He had 23 last year. He's going to be the team's joker this year. They've got Aaron Hester, who did work well in the rotation after coming in from Florida State. But in terms of guys who they've brought in, they've gone low. Lorenzo Payne and Michael Floyd, additions through the portal. The first, he's an all-conference player from the West Florida Argonauts in Division II. The latter's from JUCO at Garden City, so they've dug well down the pyramid to try and solve their sack issues, and they need these small school guys to be good quick. All of their defensive tackle starters are back, but that's not maybe a good thing. The whole overall defensive tackle unit provided just 4 sacks last year. And again, they've gone way off the grid to try and find help. They've brought in Henry Hicks from Elizabeth City State and John Curtis from Emory and Henry. They're both Division 2 schools. They've both been very productive, but these are big step ups for all these players. They've got Darrell Carter returning at linebacker, but they've lost the other starter, Joseph Carter, to eligibility. They got Micah Pollard, who came in from Michigan last year, who's probably going to step up into that role. But other than that, they've only brought in a freshman from SMU, Kyle Firm. So they're going in-house with the young guns, it seems, with their linebacker group. The secondary needs to find more takeaways. Only one player had more than one interception last year. That was Amarian Williams, and he ran out of eligibility. Of all the other corners who saw major snaps, Damont Harmon also lost eligibility. Their best corner, Christian Bodnar, left for Oklahoma State. Dexter Ricks went to Texas State in the Pac-12. Unsurprisingly, they've had to go to the portal because they've lost just about everything, but they did bring in some intriguing prospects. They got Albany State's Tyrell Gainey, and that was the best scoring defense in the Division 2 level last year. He had 5 interceptions, 2 of which were pick sixes, 11 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, and 30 tackles. So another Division 2 star arrives. You got Isaiah Guy, who used to start for Georgia Southern. He's 6'2", brings in height there. You've got Ashton McShane. He had a full year of starting experience for Boston College, and they've managed to get him down, which is a coup. They got Elijah McKenzie in from Bowie State. Maybe a new start is just what this Flames room needs. All 3 starters at safety have gone due to eligibility, as has one of the 2 primary backups. The other primary backup to App State. So again, there's nothing coming back. They brought in the wonderfully named D.I.C. Hopkins from Georgia State. He was their starting strong safety last year. And Ashton Whitner was at Ball State. He played both of their safety roles there and was also a starter. They've got a good high school class coming through, but they're high school kids. I mean, the D-line needs to find productivity, the secondary takeaways. So those are pretty big problems that need addressing, Ryan. They've gone Brave, they've gone Division 2, they've gone JUCO, they have gone to the lower leagues to try and sort these issues. It's high risk, potentially high reward, but you know, there are a lot of question marks going into this year which you're going to need to answer quick.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, to demote one of your best friends, your long-time defensive coordinator. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't resign, even at the thought of, like I say, so that's an interesting dynamic. New head defensive coordinator. I mean, even if they'd retained players, they needed a new DC because they need some new ideas to put them in better positions to get to the quarterback. But yeah, your first thing is, I mean, I'm open to have my mind change, but they're putting D2 plasters on gaping G5 holes, especially in their pass rush and on the secondary. But yeah, a lot of these guys have got a huge chance to make a name for themselves on a defense that absolutely was flaccid last year. Got no turnovers, didn't get to the QB, was pretty terrible. So they can't be any worse. That's pretty much impossible by most metrics. So the only way is up. So yeah, we're probably going to make some of these guys are going to make a really big name for themselves this year, I think.
Yeah, absolutely they are. And the schedule gives them room for optimism. They start with a hard one away at James Madison in the rivalry game. But then they got Gardner-Webb and Ball State at home. And then back to the rivalry game with Coastal Carolina. The in-division slate, their bye's a little later than the other ones, but they're away at Delaware, Kennesaw State, New Mexico State, and Missouri State. They're at home to Sam Houston, FIU, Middle Tennessee, and Western Kentucky. Now, for a regular Liberty team, that says 8-0. For a vulnerable team like them now, it might not be. But given the circumstances, I know they've got to go to the champions, but there's no Jacksonville State in there. They've missed a couple of the bigger teams. The home schedule they should sweep. The away one isn't impossible. The schedule is giving them a chance this year if they can figure it out.
Yeah, right. So they'll have to figure it out quickly. Like Gardner-Webb, it's a big banana skin, and if Jamie Chadwell slips there, it could cost him his job. Those 2 FCS games, like say Ball State, Gardner-Webb, I wouldn't overlook them. Like I said, they're going to have to hit the ground running and be really careful against those 2 teams that will test this new rebuilt defense. So it's going to be very interesting to see how quick. And like I say, then you've got huge games with Coastal Cal and Delaware. If it goes bad, it won't make it to the bye week.
You reckon that would be something? But I could agree. You're only Liberty put a lot of money into their athletics department, and they expect results. So maybe they will be worth with him. Who knows? The player to watch. I got the running back Kanye Udo again. I reckon he gets a few hundred carries this year. He's going to go absolutely nuts. And with the QB situation in flux, you're going to look at that running back room for sure. And with that, we are done with our first five. I mean, again, and apologies about the lighting situation in my room, but my light bulb has gone, so you've got me in the dark for the end of this. But I mean, again, as I say, for the CUSA being such a conference as it is, I mean, there's some exciting head coaches in here. There's some good teams in here. I think overall, the first half, it's shaping up to be an interesting conference this year. And potentially a lot of stars out of the lower levels coming, making a name for themselves. Guys you should get to know quick, and a lot of true freshmen looking for even better true sophomore years. I feel like it's positive.
Yeah, like I say, it's going to be very interesting. Like I say, we've seen a lot of teams here that had very good turnarounds from 2024, and their team needs to bounce back. Like I say, so are we going to see this shift of power again? Like I say, with the five teams we've talked about set such high bars themselves, they can't all possibly keep up to those high standards. At least one of them will have to falter. It's just going to be which one, and like I say, by how much is it going to be. So yeah, we're going to definitely see some regression this year, which makes it very interesting. Like I say, who is going to be the one that capitalizes on that?
Yeah, absolutely. They've got some interesting ones to look out for. So, as I say, that is the first five done there. We will be back next time out to finish with the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders, the Missouri State Bears, the New Mexico State Aggies, the Sam Houston Bearcats, and the Western Kentucky Hill Toppers. But hopefully you've all enjoyed the first one there. You are a little bit knowledgeable about some more of these CUSA teams. Have some names in the bucket there. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Let us know what you think of it all, as always. Lisa has let me know that it is pronounced Bowie, not Bowie State. You're right. I should have known that, but again, it is Bowie State. I should have known better. I apologise. You got me. Contrasting says, we really do. Ohio has a Dublin, London, Kent, Berlin. Yes. Really? Ohio has a Dublin? Oh, bloody hell, that's weird. Like, there's only one Dublin in the
I
world.
think Alabama has a Bradford.
Alabama has a... So... Yeah, Jacksonville State is in Alabama. That's the one that always gets me. Like, how can you have you've got a state within a state? I always, when I first started doing this, I thought Jacksonville State was in Jacksonville, and then it's like, oh no, it's in Alabama. Jacksonville, Alabama. I'm like, what the fuck? Please, just stop it. But anywho, it is what it is. Contrapassing says, stay cool, fellas. Appreciate you all. It's been a long one, but as I say, we like to give our love to these teams because we may not hear much more about them this year, depending on what's going on. So this is a one and done for them all. Anything else you want to get out of the way before we're out of here, Ryan?
No, I'm looking forward to things like you say. We've got international games, haven't we?
Yeah.
This season.
Yeah.
They've cancelled a few, but I think there's one or two that have still currently going ahead.
Oh yeah, and also NC State. We're not in Brazil anymore.
And the Michigan game's no longer in Germany.
No, they were.
I'm sure there's still two games.
They were scared of Western Michigan. So, are you going to the Arizona State game, by the way?
No.
Are we not? Are there still tickets for it? I've not even checked to see whether they've sold or not. Oh yeah, okay. Well, we'll have to see. Maybe we'll be at that at some point. But it is what it is. But
I'm try and get it next year for TCU UNC.
Yeah. That's going to be the fun one if Bill's still there. Odds of Bill. I don't think Bill makes that game. I think he's gone by then. Yeah. I don't think there's any way Bill's coaching by the time they come over here. But as always, I say thank you for us all there. If you know any CUSA supporting people, throw them in the direction of this video. They will not find more detailed breakdowns of CUSA teams going to the next year. That I can guarantee you. But I appreciate you all, Lisa, Contrapastan, everyone who's been in the building, to Tyrod, who has subscribed to us on YouTube. Appreciate it. Leave any feedback in the comments below, as always. Just remains me to thank Ryan. It is great to be back. We have a new college football season coming up. It is the fun part of year where we get to learn so much together again. We appreciate you all, and we shall see you again soon. One Pride.